We are live here tonight on American Zombie. Like to say what's up to Mr. Super Sidewinder. He said finally he got a notification, man. Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me about that. They unless they type in American Zombie channel or American Zombie Today at American Zombie Today, it's hard to find. Even some of the videos. Yeah, it is what it is, man. Jose, my brother, glad you did. Yeah. Hey, if you want to hop on, I think Diego's cool, co-host, that's why I put the link in the chat. So I sent him the link. He said that he's looking forward to the show tonight. So I don't know if I told him it was EST. So I think he might be central, central time. We're East Coast. So yeah, he does a lot of reviews on movies. Like he did one on The Devil Wears Prada with I think it's that English actress Hathaway, Anne Hathaway, and Wicked. I haven't seen either one of these, and I don't know too much about them. But I would hope that he would elaborate on this, and let us know a little more, like his point of view. I like the way he has on his videos, from a straight man's point of view. And that makes a lot of sense because we already know how the sphere is, with different types of things going on that we've talked about. And especially with looks theory and other things like that. I did something with an ad, right, to show just how important looks are when people try to play it down, especially with ads with women. You see the one on the left is free marketing digital certification. That's the real ad on the left. But I superimposed the picture of a regular, or what some people would say under average looking. Oh, Diego's here. Hey, the link, I sent the link twice on the comment, but I have it in the chat. It's right here. If you want to hit it, you can hop on. That link should bring you right here. Tritonic, he says, all the movies show men and women that real men and women would never want. Look at Zendaya and her feminine lover. I didn't see that one, but yeah, I don't really know much about it. The link is in the chat, but I did send it to you. That's why I said, let me put it in the chat. I thought you might not have got it, Diego, but this is him, Diego. He says he's here. He just, he don't have the link. Did you hear what they said about Met Gala? No, I don't even know who is Met Gala. If you want to elaborate, Jose, Scribe, Mr. X, these guys come on as co-hosts. So, it's okay. We're going to sit back and hear what Diego has to say. I really want to hear his point of view on these because I think it's going to fit right in with everything that we talk about. And then, of course, the books and stuff like that deal with dating, relationships, the effects of sexual relationships on women and also on men, so there is a lot to go over here tonight. There is also the video clips and other things that I have where we've seen many of them before about how certain things in dating matter. Like the one girl who she says she can feel him running through his veins. And I kept that clip because that's basically explains Nightmare on Sperm Street. This clip with this girl here. She's a well-known actress from, I think, The Waterboy.
I can feel him running through my veins. He's still in me.
Yep. She says he's still in her. And that's what Nightmare on Sperm Street talks about, how men are always going to be there. Diego, my brother was good to see you, man.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man. My friend, she told me, she watches your channel and she goes, she wants to stay incognito. So I told her, sure,
Of course.
Yeah. She goes, hey, check it out, So I was like, great. I looked at it. I said, I invited him. She just texted me, goes, hey, I'm looking forward to it. I said, hey, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, man, if you want to introduce yourself, and let everybody know.
All right. I'm Diego Knows. I have a small YouTube channel that I use. I started it about 4 years ago. And honestly, I just did it so I could have something to do for fun. and I started reviewing like things that I like like action movies and superhero movies, things like that. And then I got into chick flicks because the Sex and the City thing was coming out. They rebooted the show. They brought it back. You remember that a few years ago and Just Like Crap? Okay.
Yeah.
They brought that show back, and I was a big fan of the show originally. I was the only straight guy that I knew that was actually watching that show back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. So when they brought it back, I was like, okay, I like to see what's going on with these girls again. And the show was just a piece of crap. It was crap. It was complete crap. And I couldn't just, not say anything about it. So I decided I was going to break down each episode and review it. And then my channels kind of just blew up. Like people just started like, talking to me, and liking my videos and stuff. And so I was like, you know what? Once I finished that season, I decided I was going to do other chick shows. And then I decided I was going to do every single episode of Sex and the City. Every single one. I rewatched every single one and the movies. And then I did season 2 of And Just Like Crap. And in between the seasons, I just started reviewing chick flicks and just breaking them down. Because every time I see a chick flick, it's always like a gay guy talking about it, or it's always like a woman talking about it. It's never a straight guy talking about it, And I think that a lot of women sometimes they really just need to hear the truth about what's out there. I mean, we're from a generation that's been raised by TV, and a lot of what we think about the world outside our door, we get it from watching TV. From watching movies and stuff, and that's just not the way real life is, So I'm kind of hoping that maybe people will listen to me and kind of maybe, think differently, Sex and the City was really good about making men look a certain way. Men are always portrayed as stupid, or they're portrayed as cowards, or they're portrayed as evil. You can never have a guy acting strong, acting like a real man. You got to put the man down and make the woman look great. And there's lots of great women out there. I love women to death, but I mean, you could have both. You can have a strong woman and a strong man. They can exist, and you just don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
So where did that come from? It came from these stupid chick flicks, these chick shows.
Yeah, it's a type of programming I've noticed. Even with Married with Children, the husband is a buffoon. Puts up with all.
I think I have to disagree with that because yes, Al Bundy was a buffoon, okay, but he was the most popular person on that show. Okay, his fans loved him. Okay, he was a dad that made very little money. He was a failure in life, but damn it, there's men out there that could relate to him. They know what it's like to have to work for a bunch of fat women that treat them like crap all day. I mean, we know what it's like. Most of us do. Most of us are not Brad Pitt. Okay, we're not Prince Harry. Okay, we're not P Diddy or people like that. People that just have women coming towards them all the damn time. We're average guys working bullshit jobs. Just trying to make ends meet. Trying to take care of our families and stuff.
The crazy thing with P Diddy is he's not even straight.
I've never liked P Diddy. I remember when he was Puff Daddy. Okay, yeah. I mean, I remember those interviews that he did even back then, even back in the late 90s. I mean, I remember his interviews. He would just be like, he used to act like freaking Derek Zoolander. Like he was all that. Like he was just the shit. Like he never even tried to hide it. So I already knew that guy was shady. That guy's always been shady.
What the crazy things, and you're right about the Married with Children. I just think that it still does it, even though a lot of men can relate to it, and you're right about that, it puts him in the subservient category. He's kind of in a defeatist role. He sticks it out, I'll give it to him, for his children, but it has a little bit of vibe of the reality of the American family from like the standpoint of almost All in the Family.
Great show. I got every episode.
Oh yeah, that was just I love that. I was a kid. I grew up, and I just I saw when Norman Lear, that was the producer of that, and he also did Good Times and a few others.
One Day at a Time, The Jeffersons, Maude. He had his hands on a lot of shows.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that he was it portrayed what families were, the side that you don't want to see, that America doesn't want to look at, that, hey, Archie Bunker, accidentally, his ignorance, but he was a lovable character. And he's like, look, this is the way, and as I looked over the song, those were the days. Herbert Hoover, some people say, were the worst, possible president. And they're saying, how just like today, people, I don't know any politician that anybody could say isn't a crook, but we're still in, it's ridiculous. I mean, we talk about a lot of things on this show, but you do a lot of dating and relationships.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
what I realized, and Jose, Jose is co-host, and we have other guys that come on too. Jose, this is Diego. Diego,
Hey, Jose.
Hey, what's up, brother? Can you guys hear me? Actually, I'm just double checking. You guys
Yeah,
can
you're a
hear me
little
when
low,
I
but
hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I just want to say what's up to Mark. Mark, good to see you, bro. And Blackfire. Yeah, good to see you. I think that's Razor. Sex in the Ditty. He says, yeah. And it dawned on me because the last 5 years we were doing a stream on another channel, and then I did this in 2021. And I started to see this pattern of men who weren't heterosexual. And then I said, wait a second. It started to spill over into where it was more than half. I started doing percentages, and I said, you know what? We're unknowingly the minority, heterosexual men, because you got guys that think that if they don't know, you have some of these transvestites that look like women. I'll say, look, they can fool a person, but once it's like, hey, you know what? I'm straight. Nothing, hey, more power. You do your thing. Of course, there's going to be guys that are going to want you, but I'm a heterosexual man, and I found that's very rare to find. Guys will be thinking, oh, well, no, a blowjob. No, you're gay, dude. You just haven't accepted it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But don't act like
keep that away from my kids. That's all I'm saying. Keep that away from my kids.
Yeah. It's like, and it just kept getting worse because guys were like, they would disagree with me on stuff, and then they would constantly harass. And one guy told me, he goes, these guys ain't straight, bro. It actually made the other channel. We sold it eventually. And I mean, it was on fire. We had 200 people watching. Chat was crazy. Because when we grew up, I was a teen in the 80s and a preteen, going in the beginning of the 80s.
Me too.
Yeah, so we're close in that perspective. Jose is about maybe 10 years younger, and but I've noticed the dating in the last, say, 15 years. These guys haven't experienced what we experienced. They don't like the social ability that we had, just because you had to talk to people.
Yeah,
there was no internet. There was, matter of fact, we didn't even have cell phones until the mid 90s.
Yeah.
They were around, but they weren't, really, they were like a brick. I remember having one in 94, and then one lady got cancer and I ditched it till 2004 because guys had the Motorola in like 98, 97.
The Nokias.
Yes, the Nokias. So, I think about that and I say, I listened to what they were saying, these guys over the last 5 years saying that, look, man, we can't get, they're having trouble. Women, Tinder. When I say, look, it's a lot about looks, because Tinder, there is no bio. You just swipe left, swipe right. So there's really not an argument for somebody that says, well, they want to know. And we really know when, some women, they come in the chat sometimes on the show. They'll try to say, oh, personality. I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, the guy you let smash and all of that was somebody you wanted to smash. You didn't give a shit. I explained in the Black Pill book that hybristophilia is the phenomena of women being attracted to good looking guys who fit the looks theory, jawline, good eye area and everything, hair, stuff like that. But they're serial killers. And the proof in this is when you look at Ted Bundy having 100 marriage proposals, Richard Ramirez having, brutally, ended women, but yet
Madonna wanted to have sex with Richard Ramirez.
Yeah. So, and when we look at that, we say, oh, so it's personality, right? You lying freaking, it's just, yeah, and I had to like kind of, retain myself because I say, this is ridiculous. But these guys today, it becomes very apparent to them because they've done experiments. They'll put a picture of a guy who's, model-esque like, and they'll see the women just letting them get away with anything, like experiments, like saying stuff to them and saying, all right, look at what I'm going to say to her and watch how she responds. And she responds like, oh, there's nothing you can really say. Like one guy she goes, well, maybe when I get to know you better. He goes, look, we can get to know each other better when we're effing. And then she's like, okay, just because you're hot. And she gives him the number. And we see this. And then after getting blown out after 15 years of just being a dumpster, then she wants to, oh, I'm ready now to settle down. A very crazy example of this is Vivica Fox, bloated, looking like Goro from Mortal Kombat.
There's a difference between Independence Day 1 and Independence Day 2.
Yes. So, yeah. And, I kept the thumbnail here and I was saying, if you could explain more. I know these are only just two of the movies that you reviewed, I guess, the series as well. Yeah. And then you had It Ends. What was it?
It Ends With Us.
Yeah. I don't even know what that one is. So if you'd like to explain some of the stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's that. Right now I'm reviewing The Devil Wears Prada. But the movie I reviewed before that was It Ends With Us. And I think I did like 37 videos on that. Because I had to talk about the scandal. There's a scandal going on right now. There's a lot of lawsuits going on between the actors and stuff, and there's celebrities are involved. Taylor Swift got subpoenaed last week. Okay, Ryan Reynolds is part of the lawsuits. Okay, I mean it's getting crazy. It's getting out of hand. All right, so I had to talk about that and talk about the movie as well.
So the lawsuit is referring to what? Like, what are they?
Well, apparently, Justin Baldoni, he got the rights to the book. So he made his production studio is the one that made the movie. He hired Blake Lively as an actress. She's a prima donna. She wants to write her own lines. She wants to pick out her own wardrobe. She wants to work her own hours. And she threatened him. Justin Baldoni is her co-star, but he's also the director and the producer of the movie. He's the boss. And she threatened him that if you don't, do what I say, then, I'm going to rain havoc on you because I'm best friends with Taylor Swift. Okay. And my husband is Ryan Reynolds. Okay. So we can make things very hard on you if you don't appease me. Okay. Well, he said, no, I'm the boss here. I already wrote the script. I'm not going to let you rewrite it. Okay. You're going to wear the clothes that my wardrobe department picks out for you. And that's that. Okay. So she decided to claim sexual harassment on him. Okay. She claimed sexual harassment and he countersued her. Okay. For ruining his reputation. So that's going on right now. Okay. Wow. And that was the big stigma with the movie. When the movie came out last year, that's what everybody was talking about. That's why the movie made $370 million on a $40 million budget, was because all the free publicity from the scandal, women all over just ran to the theater to go see what's going on. Okay. And it looks like Blake Lively lied about everything. So now she's trying to find a way to backtrack it and stuff. But the law, both their Justin Baldoni's career is over. He needs to win this lawsuit. He's suing for $400 million. Okay, if he does not win this lawsuit, he's going to owe a lot of people a lot of money. Okay, wow. So he already knows his career is over. So he's got nothing but to win this lawsuit now. So
it's crazy how a lying woman can destroy a man's career.
Yeah.
And with all the stuff we see, the proof.
Me too. It's the Me Too. Amber Heard is Amber Heard. Thank God for Amber Heard. She's the one that finally put the brakes on this stuff. But before Amber Heard, man, from 2017 until 2 years ago, I mean, once you were accused of sexual harassment, that's it. You're done. Mm-hmm. You are blacklisted. You are out. You're out. Yeah. And that's not fair. Believe all women. That's all crap.
Yeah, that is just that alone right there is like some tyrannical just that phrase. It's like, what? Believe all women with the lies and the
I mean, women lie just like men do. I mean,
sometimes even more, because they're actually, men, women, they're in some sense, they're, of course, they'll argue they're the weaker sex physically, as far
they're the victims.
And I'm saying, when I look at the manipulation, what's that old saying? Mama's baby, father's maybe.
Mama's baby,
right?
I never heard that before, but yeah, it sounds right. Yeah.
Hey, I'm a firm advocate for DNA testing at the hospital, because if a guy in Oklahoma paid child support for 10 years as soon as they had the baby, he signed the birth certificate. Then he got a DNA test and found out it wasn't his. Yeah. Oklahoma state law said no. He paid it for 10 years as he fought the law, got it changed in 2019, didn't get the 10-year money back, but at least he didn't have to pay the other 8. Now, I mean, you talk about destroying men and a destruction of masculinity. When you see the soy boys that they try to create as a so-called husband or a boyfriend, this is like a waiter or something like that.
Yeah.
You ask a woman, the average woman, what is your ideal man? And when you think about it, she'll describe what fits the description of a slave. And you say, wait a second, what do you mean? It's like, first of all, the wedding dress, and I'm not saying that, you got to have a virgin, whatever. I'm just saying, listen, if you ain't, I can't let you wear a white wedding dress because that's supposed to represent purity. So if I act with that lie and say, oh, no, now that's the beginning of your end. Because one nut, goes to the wife, the other goes to the mother-in-law. The guy has no nuts at that point.
Yeah.
And it grows from there. And the DNA tests, when, there's guys that have quit the industry because they've said they've been so heartbroken from seeing that about 1 in 5 men that are married are just not the father of all their children.
I've seen, imagine how bad it was before DNA testing was prevalent. You imagine?
Yeah. And there was a senator, I think, from Rome, and he said one time, who of us here really knows who our father is? From way back then, they were like, look, man, this is, bros before hoes, I think.
I read something a couple of years about there was a milkman back when milkmen were around, like back in the 50s, when they still had milkmen. Okay. It turns out he fathered like 360 kids. Okay. In his career as a milkman.
Holy smokes. Yeah. It really makes me wonder, man. It really does. But with let's just say Wicked, because my friend, she told me about this movie. I didn't see it. I guess it's a spinoff from what The Wizard of Oz.
No, it's a reimagining. Okay, it's this guy named Gregory Maguire. He's a gay guy. The movie's gay. Okay, it's gay as hell. Okay, it's straight up gay. All right, it's a Broadway show. Okay, in case you didn't know, this Hollywood is a spinoff of Broadway. Okay, and most actors. Okay, there's a higher percentage of actors that are gay than say engineers or something. Gay people are attracted to the arts for some reason. Okay, and it's a stereotype, I know, but it's true. I've done theater before. It's fucking true. Okay, it's like 30% of the men that do theater are straight. Okay, 30%. The other 70% are gay, and that includes the movie stars that you see out there now.
Yeah,
okay,
we're the minority. We are the minority, right?
Yeah. Well, as far as that industry goes,
others. Now, this is a fact. Gay men started the modeling industry from women back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, it's still run by gay men. Yeah. Gay men control the modeling industry, and they control Hollywood too.
Yeah,
the LGBTQ crap. And
bodybuilding. Sandow.
I don't know about that, but I'm sure there are some. Yeah.
Hear me out on this. Sandow is, they give the Eugene
Sandow was gay. Yeah, I heard that.
If you look back, he had a wife and 2 kids, and what people don't realize, there's a lot of gay men that are married with children.
Yeah,
and they're gay, and they do this because their family, they use the woman as a beard.
As a beard, yeah, of course.
The majority of men in straight porn are gay. Porn stars have come out and said this. They said one girl said, "I have the clips." She said 75%. Then there was a girl sitting there with Lexington Steele saying, no, it's more like 90%. And he tried to be like, oh, what do you mean? I said, yeah, because he's one of them. Yeah. I mean, anything with double blow jobs or that's not straight behavior.
I know a lot of these guys that you think are straight that did. I mean, Ron Jeremy's done fucking gay porn. Okay. Yeah. Peter North has done gay porn. These are guys from our generation. Okay. They've done gay porn. Okay. Shawn Michaels. I mean, he does porn. He does gay porn too now. He fucks trans girls. Okay, so yeah, that's what he does. And as far as I know, if porn goes, is that if you have sex, if you're a man and you have sex with another man, then they don't test you for HIV. They only test you if you're having heterosexual sex. Okay, so that means that if Shawn Michaels having sex with men now, okay, that means he's not allowed to have sex with women anymore. Okay, but damn it, the rent's not going to pay itself, right? So you got to think about stuff like that. A lot of these people, they've got AIDS, or HIV positive or something. It's just a degenerate industry, dude. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's crazy. Jose, did you have something, a question, or I thought it was unmuted?
I'm interrupting for a second because funny enough, one of the funniest things that's happening right now in what you would call kind of like the YouTube influencer circle of like fitness and like those kind of like channels and stuff is actually this one individual, Cali Muscle. I don't know if Diego knows is familiar with Johnny Bravo TV or anything, but specifically these two have had like the biggest like war of like this guy is just being exposed like crazy. And the one thing that hasn't gotten even really touched on again because it is from his past or whatever, but the dude was literally, gay for pay. many years ago, and then he's got the wife, he's got kids, acting like they never did this, and it's the craziest shit ever.
Yeah.
Like all of these, they have a past. And one thing that Andy's mentioned once on the show before that I thought was very 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 true was a quote that he had about wearing masks. That he said, "There's a mask you show strangers and people you don't know. There's a mask that you have for your friends and your loved ones, and then." Well, you said that there's one that you only show to yourself, but in reality, that's actually when you just can't, you don't wear the mask. It's face
Well,
to
yeah,
face.
the three hearts also can be looked at. There's one you show the world, there's one you show
Yeah.
your close friends, and one you don't show anyone. That's your
Yeah.
secret heart or secret mass. And there are things. Hey, you have to have that level, but when your inner one matches the one with the closeness, you become to live more real. Because if you believe in something and you don't live it, then you're living a lie. And a lot of people don't agree with that. Oh no, it's like, because you're living a lie. I'm like, if you're going to tell me you believe that we should have clean food and water, and you don't try to live that, well, you're living a lie. You acknowledge the problem, but you're not trying to actually live it.
Yeah.
And with women, it's just at a point where I'm so glad you do this. And when she told me about your channel, and I saw from a straight man's point of view, I was like, whoa, another one of us is out there, and I used to always think we're the majority. You think, oh yeah, the majority.
We are the majority. We are. The media doesn't want to tell you that. Okay. But we are the majority. Okay.
Wow.
Most men are straight. Okay. There's no confusion there.
I think
that. Wait,
I'm,
think that?
go ahead, I was
Go
like,
ahead. No. I'm saying he's saying that. Are you saying that you think that the majority of men in the world are heterosexual, Diego?
Yes. Yes.
We strongly disagree. We
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely. I think the media, the legacy media, wants to portray, because if you watch Hollywood, if you watch TV shows, and streaming shows and things like that, and movies that Hollywood produces, you're going to think, okay, that the world is like 45% gay. Okay. And that is just fucking not the case. Okay. It's more like a 5%. Okay.
really? You think
Yes.
it's that low?
It's nowhere near as much as they're telling you it is. Okay. They just have the microphone. Okay. Straight people aren't allowed to have the microphone. Okay.
Yeah,
It's the gay people that have the microphone. That's why they're always screaming to the top of their lungs. Okay. They get indoctrinated into this stupid ass Marxism in college, where they're libtard professors that all, smoked weed and hung out at Hyde-Asbury in San Francisco. And they're all telling all these kids out there, hey, you know what? It's okay to try it with another boy. It's fine. Okay. When you get older, you can figure things out. Okay. It's just a form of sexual abuse. That's all it is.
It's a good point you bring up, that they have the microphone and they're screaming it, because they do. It's to give a straight man the microphone and he says something, he's chastised.
You're homophobic. You're automatically labeled homophobic, transphobic, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And you're committing a hate crime.
Yeah, I've talked about it many times on this channel, where I honestly think that a lot of the women that are in Hollywood are trans, like Sandra Bullock. I don't think that's a chick.
I met her once. No, she's a woman. She's a woman.
I don't know, man. You know where they found her, right? They found her when they discovered her. She was performing at drag queen shows. You can look it up. So she tries to say, oh, now there's pictures with her. I used to have them uploaded with an Adam's apple. Now, the surgery has gotten so well that you can't tell. And over the years of when she had the pictures with the Adam's apple, same thing with Taylor Swift. What do they say? If it has an apple, it's got a banana. It just, when I look at who's the other one, Julia Roberts, that's another one I had to place under transvestigation until further
transvestigation.
I mean, I was doing research. There was a few channels they got deleted, Mr. E, Transpocalypse Now, and a few others, because they were like, look, this is some weird. If you ever look at the scientific documentation of the medical procedures and see a female to male transformation, it is literally astonishingly unbelievable.
There's no such thing as a female to male transformation. Okay, your chromosomes are always going to be XY or XX.
Yeah, you're right. I have the word differently, but a female disguising as a male. And that's the correct terminology. You're right. But when you look, you'll say, wait a minute, this person now has chest muscles, they have pectorals, they have, and the level of plastic surgery and stuff, it's almost undetectable. The videos are on YouTube. A lot of these people have regretted their so-called transition. So it's like a mix mash. The spraying of atrazine. You know, atrazine was the thing that Alex Jones went off on, saying they're turning the frogs gay. You know, but that was based in the science from Tyrone Hayes. He was talking about how male frogs were transforming into female frogs after the spraying of atrazine. And the weirdest thing he found was that the male frogs that remained preferred the females that were transformed over real females.
You know, that was in Jurassic Park. That's what the scientists said. That's how the dinosaurs were able to reproduce, even though they didn't have the right amino acids, because they could transform their sex. Because the frogs could do it. Because they used frog DNA to fill in the sequences in the DNA.
Wow.
But yeah,
and you know, and I just get a feeling that something, you know, it's like I feel like we're boiling in that pot of water, and you know, the last few guys, you know, like it's like you said, the microphone that they have, they're, you know, that's mind control 101. Repeat it.
Did you know that there's a James Bond movie that had a trans actress in it?
That was For Your Eyes Only.
For Your Eyes Only, yeah. Caroline Tosi, yes.
Yeah. Now I've
1981.
Heard that all the Bond girls were trannies. Now I you know, some guys like, if you look at interest, you know, these guys that do the, you know, they're funny because they'll go a little too far. But when I look at Mr. E had a great video. I have it saved on another computer because it was deleted from YouTube. It was called the Tranny Kings of Europe, and it showed the Denmark and Netherlands. And I mean, these were dudes with necklaces and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? I should have saved pictures of it, because Marlene Dietrich, when you look at her, she's an actress from the 20s.
I know. Yeah.
She don't look too, you know, I mean,
she was bisexual. She fucked a lot of girls too.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that was a real woman. You know, there was also one from Germany or Netherlands that he actually went through the procedure, and this was in black and white film days. You know, so I'm saying these guys are like in the lab, and I'm saying, why? You know, what the heck is going on? Why would you want to do that? You know, but then you look back to the theater in Greece, and even before, even Egypt and other places, you know, women weren't allowed to act. Men had to wear makeup to play the parts of women. So when I look at the Hollywood today, it doesn't come as a big surprise. Yeah.
Do you know who the president of France is right now?
No, who is it?
His name is Emmanuel Macron. Okay, he's like the prime minister. He's the president of France. And his wife, the first lady, her name is Bridget Macron. And Candace Owens is 150% sure that Bridget Macron is really a man.
Yes, she has a very good point. I did remember, and I think actually it is a man that has, you know, using the I forgot what they call it, the shield or something.
Yeah, because the boy that was born the same time that she was born disappeared, and then all of a sudden this woman showed up somewhere.
Yeah, and you're right. It's double X chromosomes or XY. That's it. Yeah. You can do whatever you want, but you're still what you were born as. And then they are pushing an agenda that is just it's on another level.
It's degenerate. It's degenerate. I mean, this is Jeffrey Epstein. This is P. Diddy. This is all of them. You know, this is what they do. I mean, these are some sick people that are in power. Yeah, some really sick, disgusting people. You know, Eyes Wide Shut. I thought that was just a movie when I saw that in the late 90s. No, that shit's real.
Yeah, documentary. Yeah,
that's pretty damn real. You know,
very real. 100%. You know? Jose, you had something?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was just gonna say too about, like, because he was talking about the French, was it French president? I mean,
Bridget Macron. Yeah, Emmanuel Macron. His wife Bridget.
Right. Well, we had our own, right, with Michael Obama. You know, like it come out. Yeah. So this is the thing. You know, I was gonna give you another pushback too, because, you know, that point you made about believing that the majority of men are hetero. I mean, if that's the case, why is Grindr the most #1 used dating app in the world?
Because that's the one that all the gay guys go to. It's like, why is Pornhub the most used app for straight guys? Okay, because that's the one where all the straight guys go to. You know, Grindr's a dating site. I know, but that's all the gay guys go on Grindr. Yeah, that's their site.
With statistic wise, I think he's speaking. Is that Jose? What you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Statistically, Grindr is more popular then the majority of all the quote heterosexual, which also, gay people infiltrate those
Yeah.
anyways.
Yes.
But
But you've got OK Cupid, you've got Tinder, you've got Bumble, you've got all these different ones, and then you've got Grinder. Okay.
I think
So of course it's gonna attract more of that percentage.
no. I think he's saying that. Are you saying, Jose, that Grinder has like a more percentage of people that are on it, like compared to all of the other apps combined?
yes, the Grinder is the most popular dating app that is been statistically downloaded.
If you have those stats, put them in the chat.
It might be. I don't know. I've never been on Grinder,
Yeah,
so
I've never been. Yeah,
I don't know what the numbers are there.
yeah. But I have to admit, it is
Right.
everywhere I look, it's like encroaching,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing like guys that, I see them, and I don't want people to think, hey, I'm just saying this is, according to YouTube, guidelines.
Yeah.
And they'll have the blue hair. And this is nothing against people with blue hair. It's just saying when you see that, it's like you start to you see the lib, it's so crazy because they got me afraid to say. I mean, I've had strikes, I've had all this other stuff. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, it's just it has me to say, man, these guys are conditioning content creators in a way to say,
Well, Google, I mean, Google owns YouTube. Okay. And where's Google? Google is in Silicon Valley. And where's Silicon Valley? It's in San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco was woke before anybody else was. They've been woke since the 60s.
Oh yeah, they said what they say, that old joke. It was like, why is San Fran like a bowl of cereals? They said if it ain't nuts or fruits, it's flakes.
So yeah,
and again, nothing against nuts, fruits, and flakes. It's just it's just a joke. And A. Patterson, he usually comes up. He said there's an Emmanuel Macron video of him doing coke with a couple of other politicians and his kitchen table on TikTok. Really? If you want to put the link in, A. Patterson, Ray Patterson's doing great research all the time. And, I did see something. I didn't know what his name was when you mentioned the president of France, but I did see something with the so-called Bridget dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, this is a dude that had an operation.
And, yeah.
Well, I mean, a chick
maybe, or maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a woman. I don't think that's a naturally born woman.
I've seen her pictures. That ain't a chick. That's a guy.
Yeah, and
that's a guy.
They're pushing this in so many, avenues. There's a lot of open trans Hollywood actresses that you wouldn't know until you look it up. You say, holy smokes, that person was, this is not a chick. No. And I don't have the names offhand, but anybody can look it up and see it. And it's just, it's creepy,
just Hollywood in general is just gay. Okay. I mean, they're attracted to that industry. Okay. It attracts more gay people, more LGBTQ than most other industries do. I mean, for some reason, a lot of them just want to be in the performing arts. They want to do Broadway. They want to sing. I mean, look, like Harry Styles is supposed to be straight. I mean, that guy's walking around in a goddamn dress. Okay. And he's supposed to be what masculinity is. I mean, look what Hollywood gives us as far as our male role models. They give us Tom Holland. They give us Ezra Miller. They give us Timothy Chalamet. Okay. These are all beta boys. Okay. These are skinny, whiny, very, very feminine boys. Exactly. Okay. This is what Hollywood is telling a young man. This is what you need to be like. When I was growing up, you know who I wanted to be like? I wanted to be like Sylvester Stallone. I wanted to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to be like Bruce Willis. These were my role models. Not something like Timothy Chalamet. What the hell? This guy's a friggin'.
You know what the scary thing is even before the Schwarzeneggers and Rambos was they had it in behind the curtain with Rock Hudson.
Oh yeah, there was a closet. Anthony Perkins from Psycho. Wow. He died of AIDS. He was gay. He was a closet homosexual too.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He died of AIDS.
Whole list, right? That there's a Rock Hudson. You look at him, you think, that's like they're trying to give the the male look. Find out
I've done so much research on the golden age of Hollywood. There are so many guys like Burt Lancaster. Okay, was famous for having sex with men. Burt Lancaster, okay?
And Marlon Brando, right?
Marlon Brando admitted to it. He admitted to having sex with men. He said there's nothing wrong with it. Jason Robards was having sex with Montgomery Clift. Okay, Montgomery Clift. Okay, he was a leading man. You know, I mean, James Dean was having sex with men. Okay, did you know that movie, A Rebel Without a Cause? His co-star in that movie, Sal Mineo, played his best friend, and then Natalie Wood played the love interest. In real life, James Dean was fucking both of them. Okay,
Holy shit, straight butt pirates, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Holy smokes, man! That you've done some pretty good research, man.
I have. I talk about this stuff on my channel. I talk about like Golden Age of Hollywood. You know, Greta Garbo was a lesbian, straight up. I hate men lesbian. You know, and she was a leading lady.
Yeah,
you know,
kind of not the most attractive looking chick. You know, when
you look for those stand. You know, for the 1930s, she was in the 1930s. She was a 10. Today, she would be like a 5 or a 4. You know,
I think I'd have to go with the regular farm girl or something. I mean, kind of. But A. Patterson, if you could, Diego Knows is the channel. If you can post his channel link in the chat, and I'll highlight it, man. If I appreciate it, bro.
Thank you.
You know, promote your channel. Hopefully you'll shoot over 1,000. I don't know if you ever, if you monetize or whatever.
I don't do this for money. I don't do my channel. I do this for fun. I get enjoyment off of talking about this kind of stuff. This is my outlet. You know, it's my way of getting my thoughts out there to the public for anyone who wants to listen. You know,
great. That is really great.
I think that for me, like, like the chick flicks that I do, I mean, you're never going to see a straight guy talk about these movies the way I do, because I go into detail about them, and I tell the truth. I burst the bubble. I know women want to believe that fantasy. I burst that bubble. That is not realistic. This is not real. You're not going to find a guy this way. This is not going to happen to you, and I know sometimes that hurts women's feelings, but damn it, I'd rather they know the truth,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. I feel the same way, man. I feel
like the way I'm talking to you guys right now. You're not supposed to talk this way to a woman, because women get offended, they get their feelings hurt. They get intimidated. When a man speaks loudly and stuff. But I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell them like I'm their dad or something. Like, listen, you need to hear this. Yeah, okay, you need to hear this. Okay? Women are not beautiful at any size. Okay, quit paying attention to that crap. That's not real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I know the movies tell you that, but it's not real.
It's unhealthy. It's just, you look at it like, hey, I mean, I like to work out. I like to exercise.
Yep.
I did notice it. I mean, when I see the guys that do the steroids and stuff, and I'm like, bro, athletic build is really what women like the most. I said, but to push all that stuff. And then I see that wishy-washy behavior, they're looking at each other, and I'm like, I'll work out at home, I'll do calisthenics. I just, it has invaded. And when I look back to the Joe Weider and, because I used to read all the books and
Muscle and Fitness, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I had I might still have a couple of old issues from the 80s and 90s. And, I knew a girl that was into bodybuilding, and I knew a guy that worked at Twin Labs, and he got me like some old ones with Arnold on the cover from 73. And I had given it to her as a present. I said, here, I said, I'm not really into it that much. Because I used to think that, okay, I didn't know those guys took steroids, until like, when I was like.
Yeah, they left that out of Pump and Iron. Yeah, they didn't mention the steroids in Pump and Iron.
And in the 90s, I'm looking at it, and the guy was like, look, they're all on steroids. I said, well, not Arnold. He goes, look, every single one, man. And I never wanted to get, I didn't think I was going to get that big. I'm more of a slim guy, but, when I looked into it, I was like, wow, I never thought about it. And I said, so it's not real. It's like a girl wearing makeup saying she's beautiful. It's like, okay, take off the makeup, and then I'll know if, we'll talk about that. But with the dudes, I think Greg Douchet, he has a big channel, and
I watch his channel. Yeah, he's funny.
He's very open, very open about it. He's like,
he admits it. He did steroids when he competed. He did steroids.
Yeah, and he's like, the depression, all of these other things. He goes, they don't talk about that.
Yeah.
More plates, more dates, or more plates, no dates. Yeah. Where's the women on his channel? He's only talking about guys. I mean, he's a big guy, and he even said it himself. He goes, when you get past a certain point, he goes, you're not impressing women. You're impressing men.
Yeah, I think men and women have we tend to have weird ideas of what's attractive. Women will spend thousands and $1,000s on a purse, on their nails, on their boots, on their jacket, on their skirts. They want everything's got to be Chanel or Oscar de la Renta or all this shit's fucking expensive, a Birkin bag, because they think that makes them look more attractive. Whereas men, we don't give a shit. Okay, it's what does a girl look like underneath all that is what we find attractive. You see what I mean? But try to convince that to a woman, okay? And guys, we do the same thing. You know, we think that maybe, you know, because who compliments guys when they have big muscles? It's other guys. Women don't find that attractive. They don't find me attractive. They don't find Ronnie Coleman attractive. No. Okay. All right, but men are like, damn it, dude, look at those guns, man. How do I get quads like you? You know, and that makes them want to work out even more. You know,
crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's a team of anal assassins, man. Yeah. I don't even mess. You know, A. Patterson gave us the link to Emmanuel Macron cocaine video, and he also gave us the stats. A. Patterson is great, man. He'll find stuff and post it in the chat. I mean, one of the top mods since back in the Smash days. We had other channels. He said Tinder 630 downloads, so that's number one. Happen, I never heard of that, 140 million. Bumble's 100 million. Badoo's 100 million. Ashley Madison, 80 million downloads. Okay.
They're infamous. They're infamous.
Thank you.
That's a cheating app. Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying Grindr, while it has a smaller overall use base compared to Tinder and Badoo, Grindr is the top choice of LGBT. Well, that makes sense because they're not going to go to.
They're
Tinder.
all yeah. I mean, I have Bumble, okay, and you'll get trans people on there for some reason, and they won't let you delete them. Like if you block that person, if you try to block it, like they're going to ask you why do you want to block it, and they give you all these choices. Not one of them is because I'm not gay. They won't let you think that's not an option.
Holy shit. Holy that is crazy. Pushing the agenda down people's throat, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
smokes. Hey, Patterson, if you have it's Diego Knows channel, because you know I want to promote it for him. You know,
thank you.
You know, we've done this for years. When I first I had a YouTube channel from 06, so I've been on YouTube for almost 20 years, but not steady. I went over to Blog Talk Radio in about 2012 when YouTube was sold to Google, because it was like the Wild West from 05 to like 2011. Oh, it was beautiful. You had the star rating system, no thumbs up, thumb down.
Yeah.
Everything was on there, no ads. It was great. Yeah. So I understand now, you know, they had to do their thing, and I left. I went to Blog Talk Radio for about a couple of years and then came back. And but yeah, we've had the dating and relationship thing. It's off the handle. I mean, it's on steroids with Tinder.
You mentioned earlier about the dating apps as far as women go. I think the reason, you know, the things that women find attractive in men are not the same things that men find attractive in women. We're more into the visual. Even gay guys, okay, are more into the visual. Okay. Whereas women tend to be about the social status, the personality. If you can make a woman laugh or make her feel good about herself, she's going to be attracted to you.
Well, okay. So see, that's where we get a little.
But you can't get that from a dating app. That's only something you can get from meeting them one-on-one. You got to meet them in person. You know, a dating app is just going to show you what they look like. You know?
What is your height, if you don't mind?
I'm 6'2".
Okay, so now this is where I'm 6'1". So we have emphasized that looks and height, and women have said this is extremely important. If a guy that's 5'5", you said
not gonna lie, man.
Have a great personality. They don't give a shit about her. They, you know, and Al Johnson, thank you for the support, brother. He's here right now, Mr. X. Good to see you. Do you have any questions? Oh, and please subscribe to Diego Knows channel. This is the link right here in the chat. Great channel. And he does, I mean, the amount of videos. Well, you have over 600 videos, man.
627, something like that.
Unbelievable amount, bro. This is, I mean, you are really. I wasn't monetized for the first two and a half years when I did it, and then eventually, you know, StreamYard, you know, $50 a month. I'm like, well, you know, well, I used to have the better version, but recently but Mr. X, this is Diego, Mr. X. Do you have any, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm just tuning in. So I just, I'm catching up to everything. And I want to know, Diego, what's your channel mostly about? What's your topics? That
I think I found my niche is I take these stupid ass rom-coms and these chick flicks that women love so much and talk about all the time. And I break them down and I give you a straight man's point of view and I pull no punches. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
But you know what it really is? You always got to follow the money trail. The fact is women are the biggest consumers. So it makes sense they're going to tailor Hollywood is going to tailor to the women.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Disposable income. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, women tend to buy more things than men do, but men, we have more extravagant purchases. Like we'll buy a house. We won't buy a lot of on clothes, but we'll buy a house. We'll buy a car. Women buy less than that, but more often. So they end up outspending men.
And also they get men to pay for it.
Thank
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if they got the looks for it, yeah. If they can get a sugar, they can pull a sugar daddy. Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Rex, this is his channel. If you want to check it.
I went ahead and subscribed. I went ahead. And
thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and, it's great videos, man. But Capital J just texted me. She said, she goes, because she reminded me of something. There was a guy, I don't know if it was Egypt, but somebody in that area married a woman, and that when she took off her makeup at night and woke up, he divorced her the next day.
Oh yeah.
Anybody can look this up. It's
I believe it.
Yeah. And I mean, when I wrote in the 48 Laws of Dating, I wrote, cosmetic vampires. They exist, and just like you're saying that, a woman that is 300, we're not saying this person is a bad person. This person has a problem. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe it's an addiction to eating. When I wrote Nightmare on Sperm Street showed how eating and cocaine and methamphetamine use wears out a part of the brain that's considered like the braking system. So when somebody actually says, it's hard, they literally have worn out the brakes and they need serious help. But then you have this machine, like Diego's saying, which exists. This that's just pushing this agenda. Oh no, she's big and beautiful. She's
body positivity is what they call it.
Yeah, didn't one of them die from a heart attack or something? She was like a model. They tried to say,
she was an influencer. She was an influencer, a body positive influencer.
And it's so sad because instead of saying, look, we care for you, we want you to get better, they just ignore it and they push it. And it's like, I'm not, Jose.
The body positive thing is starting to disappear. And what killed it is Ozempic. Ozempic is what did it.
Oh yeah, I heard that messed up a lot of people, right? Zombified them. They were Ariana Grande was looking all messed up.
Yeah, like in Wicked. Yeah, she looked like a concentration camp survivor. Yeah,
she is brutal.
And she's supposed to be the pretty one in the movie.
Yeah, I still got my questions about. I'm gonna have to place her on the transvestigation for a little bit until further notice. Her guys thought I was nuts with some of the women I was naming off, but I said, we're in an age of technology that that it is going into something where it's hard to tell. There's a couple on YouTube somebody hit me to that you can't tell. You'll look at them and say, no, that's she's a pretty girl, and it's not a girl. Openly, you read the description. What? What's that one that she looks a little sus or he looks a little suspect anyway? I wouldn't think that this was a straight girl, but Blair White. Blair White on YouTube. If you look it up, if you type it in and look it up, that's a dude. And openly, he says it's a dude.
I think so. I think I've heard that name before. Yeah.
Yeah. Blair White is a big channel, over 1 million subscribers.
I think that's like the conservative one, the conservative transgender.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's a dude. I guess people would say, she, whatever. Okay, fine. But
no, that's a dude. That's a dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that's a dude. That's a dude. Yeah.
Chloe Arden was another one. And the dude that was telling me this, he used to be on the show back in 2020. And I realized that he wasn't, he tried to act like, oh yeah, straight. He's been with women, had girlfriends, showed pictures. But then I'm like, man, how do you know all these channels with these, with these dudes who are chicks, I guess transvestites. I guess that's before the operation. I guess after is the transsexual. And
that's what they used to call them. They used to call them transvestites, then transsexual, and then just transgender sounded better. Some stupid Harvard person created that.
Yeah, and it's inaccurate. It's unscientific. It's
no such thing.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
I reviewed the Barbie movie. You remember the Barbie movie that came out 2 years ago? I reviewed that movie, and I had names for all the Barbies that were in there. There was Black Barbie, there was Fat Barbie, there was Ugly Barbie, and then there was a transgender Barbie in the movie called that one Ken Barbie. Okay, wow. There was a Ken Barbie in the movie.
I didn't see that, but it was. I heard it was kind of like diminishing to Ryan Gosling? Like what was
Actually, Ryan Gosling stole the movie. The movie was supposed to be about Barbie, and everyone ended up liking Ken better than Barbie because Ken, he actually had an arc. He actually like they actually pointed out how he was being mistreated. All the Kens were being mistreated by the Barbies. They're all being treated like crap, and he decided to do something about it. So even though he's supposed to be like the villain of the movie, the guys were all cheering for him, like, yeah, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, he stole the movie. He stole the movie from Margot Robbie. Everyone loved Ryan Gosling in that movie because he was actually trying to do something about it. He noticed that the women had all the power and they were all in charge, you know, and he decided, hey, you know what? I think the men, we should just get together and take over, you know?
Wow. Yeah. Maybe I'll check it. I haven't, now that I guess it's free now, I could probably find it.
All right, you can all sail the high seas,
Yeah. Wow. That's, because he acted in a few others, Blade Runner, the 2049 one.
Yeah.
One guy, he did a good review on that. Replicant Fish. He used to be from back in the 2020 days with us. I think he still is from England. He made a good point where Love and Joy were the two chicks. Love was one of the replicants that was hunting him, and Joy was his what's it called? His internet, not a real girl, like a projection, she was a cyber, thing. And
virtually
Joy was beautiful, like happy and, always, serving him food, the wife image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love was cold. I mean, that bitch was she tried to kill him and all of that stuff. And finally, when he killed, and then Love killed Joy. And he was putting this together. And I said, wow, this is excellent, man. And then, Ryan Gosling eventually strangled Joy to death. Yeah, no, Love to death when she was trying to kill Harrison Ford. Patterson says Lizzo losing fans and getting hate from the big beautiful crowd after losing 60 pounds. Lizzo busted at any weight. She could be 120 pounds, and I don't think she's going to be a pretty chick. Nothing against her as a person, but yeah. Jose? Yeah.
I was gonna say at 120, MD, it's crazy some of the stuff because like the thing with the makeup and like the surgeries, it is insane. I saw this meme. It would be good actually for right now to be like when women say, "Oh, you'll never find a bitch like me." It said,
there's a whole bunch of them. I look the same.
It's like, not,
No.
I got the lip injections and everything. Yeah.
When a woman says you'll never find a girl like me, I tell her, I hope not. I hope not. I mean, I've had because Scribe was, he's hosts the channel sometimes, co-hosts as well. When he starts the show, when I start the show, he's co-host. When he starts it, I go co-host. And I told him, him and I and a few other guys, of course, we're guys that have broken up with a lot of women. When women have to break up with a guy, I see the difference in behavior with some of those guys, the way they act. I'm like, my temper sometimes. I've never struck women or did anything violent. I've always told them, like, look, hey, I'm that's it. That's it. Give me my shirts, give me this. I'm doing, and they're kind of shocked. One girl, Jenny, she was from Puerto Rico, really pretty, okay looking. As they get older, it's like, I don't know what I don't know what the hell happened. Gravity is a mother, it's a motherfucker. Yeah. But and she would like just try to push you. And finally I was just like, look, I'm done. And she, after 2 years, I saw her. And then she's like, oh, well, why didn't you come by? And I said, well, what do you think? I'm a nutcase? I was like, you didn't want me to come by. And, and she's used to guys simping. Like, and the simpocalypse is real. The simpocalypse. And they try to make normal guys become simps, like saying, oh, no, you're supposed to do that for, what do you mean? I heard you mention it once or twice. My friend told me, she said that you did talk about dating coaches and stuff like that. Yeah. What's your view on that?
Dude, well, first of all, if Henry Cavill came in the room, there's no fucking way in hell she's going to make him simp for her, okay? She's going to be all over him.
Exactly.
Right? So it's just, that's all, that's dumb. But as far as like the dating coaches go, I think the best things in life are free. You don't have to pay anybody like your life savings, okay, to learn how to pick up girls or something. All you got to do is look at what the people that are successful at it, look what they do. Okay, look what they do. It's free. Okay. honest to God, if you've got no coach, all you really need to do is just grow a pair of balls. You've got to talk to women. You've got to talk to girls. You're going to get rejected. Yes, you are. You're going to get made fun of. You're going to get humiliated. They're going to make up all these names. They're going to show you off to all their friends. Oh, look at this guy who thought he could talk to me. All that's going to happen. And you know what? You're going to keep going anyway. Okay, because you've got to learn how to be a freaking man first before women are going to be attracted to you. And something that men do.
Question?
Yeah.
But is it really about talking and approaching, or is it more have to do just with looks?
It has more to do for a man. Obviously, looks opens the door, okay, but it doesn't seal the deal. Now, for a man, it does. For a woman, it doesn't. Okay, you've got to display high value.
I disagree with that. I have to disagree with that.
Height has to be there because a guy can be good looking. If he's 5'5", it ain't happening, especially for girl. Matter of fact, my first law.
Pat Oswald is a short guy, okay, and he has no problem getting laid, and he's ugly too. Okay? Because he's got fame and he's got money and he's got
fame. He's got fame. Yeah. That's totally different.
You use what you got. Person. Exactly. You got to use what you got. Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. If you put that into a guy without fame, it is over. There's no talking that he can do.
Yes.
Well, I'm not saying you have to be like a movie star or an actor or something like that, but if you're the kind of guy that's the life of the party, women are automatically going to be attracted to you.
All right, I'll give an example here from a female's point of view where she says it. I play this for people to show them just how important height is. The guy asked her, and these are young girls in their 20s.
Who's dating Stacy's is height.
What's more important, looks and attractiveness or height?
Height.
So like if the guy's ugly, you don't care. If he's tall?
I'm tall, so I need a tall guy. I'm 5'7". Why would I date a 5'8" man?
But like if he's really attractive, it's still a no?
If he's really attractive and he's 5 foot, I'm gonna kick him around.
What if he was buff?
Then I don't care. Like I will stomp on his ass.
The difference between a normie who is only able to date his looks match and a normie who is dating Stacy's is height.
So, and I have tons of these. This is when I started the other channel. It was all about dating and relationship. American Zombie, we get into like all types of topics, metaphysics and stuff. And I've studied this scientifically. Mr. X was there with me. Jose Scribe, of course, was there from the beginning. And I think he's busy tonight. He's in Panama. He's his mother's Panamanian, his father's Air Force. So he was born there. And when I look at it and I say to myself, there was another lady, Robert Greene, excellent author. He wrote.
Yeah, I've read his books. Yeah.
I have the 48 Laws of Power.
I read Seduction.
I have Art of Seduction right here on my shelf. And he was speaking with a lady about it, and she kind of called him out, and he backpedaled very well. He tried to say, well, for what he said, that ain't not with this girl. She don't care how good. If he's 5'8", that's not tall enough for her. And the other two girls are co-signing. But this girl here, I left her off camera, but this is what she says to Robert Greene.
You need an element of like sexual chemistry or lust to be a part of it for that art of seduction to even work, right? Because if I'm, friends with, Joe Blow and I have no attraction to him, no matter how much we're going to be friends and we hang out together, it's not happening.
Yeah. So I have so many women, and my friend, we've talked about this. When we met, I showed her, I said, look, I wrote a couple of books on dating and relationships. She's an editor, and she looked through the black pill and she was like, this whole thing about looks theory. She goes, it's amazing because we don't see it because you're 6'2", I'm 6'1". We're above average in looks. I've had other guys hate me for that. It's saying, oh, well, you're not really. And I'm like, bro, it's just because you get no ass. It's like, of course you're going to be mad, and then they're going to say, like, why I wrote the 48 Laws of Dating. They'll say, well, you got to have game. Game is a form of manipulation. Really, she's the one. We're the players in her game. Like, women are so smart. They'll have a guy thinking that he's manipulating when he's actually being manipulated. Until that, like you said, Henry Cavill comes in the room. Then you see her true colors, true colors come. So why doesn't Henry Cavill have to take you out to dinner? You're pulling up your skirt in the bathroom for this guy with no dinner. And then you're going to tell the other guy he's got to, have a good personality. He's got to take you to dinner.
What is it? 6, 7, 8. It's the 6, 7, 8. It's 6 feet tall, 7 figures, and 8 inches.
Yeah. Exactly. And the guys like that, I've never had to worry about that. The main thing, income, that would be the final. But I had a great sex life. I mean, and I continue to say, all right, now it's about money. Now it's really about money. It's like, look, I see these guys. I remember having a panel of 10 guys. 6 of them were virgins in their 20s. They're saying this is the highest time in history where men in their 20s.
You know, the only reason I got to push back a little bit on that is because, you know, I've worked in nightclubs. Okay. I'm from Chicago, and I've been a manager at titty bars before. Okay. And, you know, a lot of the bosses that I work for, like the GMs, the guys that run the nightclubs, okay, they're not good looking guys. They're short, you know, they got beer bellies, mustaches, whatever. Okay. But they pull the hottest girls in the whole club. Okay. They pull the absolute hottest girls, more hot girls than I've ever seen in my life.
They got money. They got money.
Okay. No, because not necessarily money. Okay. They don't own the bar. They just run it. They're just the GM. Okay, but it's because they have the authority, they have the social status, and that attracts women.
Exactly. So now picture that guy without that. There's no words.
Exactly.
So now when we look at it scientifically, we're saying it's not that he can get girls because he's fat and because he has a status, and he's dealing with hookers, strippers.
Exactly.
Strippers. GM's ball guy, short, beer belly, all that kind of stuff. But he's fucking all the girls in the club.
He just gave it away. That game doesn't work. When you said titty bar, a titty bar can't exist if game is real. In other words, prostitution can't exist.
Well, I'm saying there's different ways to play the game. I think everyone has to use what they have. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's looks. For some people, it's their job. For some people, it's their gift of gab. For some people, it's their height. You know, everyone's different. So you got to find what it is. You know, everyone's got something that women can find attractive about them.
Every guy can attract a woman. Every guy can attract a woman. The big problem in 2025 is attracting the woman that you're attracted to. That's the real issue. Even for Chads or decent looking guys, I'm sure. I don't know if your dating life, you know, do you always get the woman you really want in your experience?
I've never had sex with a woman I wasn't attracted to.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, you attract a lot of women, but they might not be the woman you're interested in.
Boyfriend, girlfriend? No. There's plenty that had too many red flags. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know.
Because I've gone on dating apps and you get a lot of attention, but it's not with women you really are interested in.
Yeah. And you get that too, because women tend to go for guys that are better looking than they are. Okay. And that's the truth. But you see, the fact that it's a dating app means all a woman has to judge you by is your picture.
Yeah,
okay. That's the thing.
In reality, that rolls over into reality too. Women petition Tinder to get men to put their height on it, and Tinder refused because they were meeting guys that they found good looking that ended up being 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", even 5'10". A girl that's 5, like this girl in the clip, 5'7", she's not going for a guy that's 5'10". She'll take an average looking guy that's 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" over a guy that's 5'10", that's good looking. Now, the shorter a girl is, you might have a girl that's 5'2" and say, no, she'll go with that guy because now you're looking at an 8-inch difference in height. So she can wear 5-inch heels and she's 5'7", and the guy is still 3 inches taller. Me, I don't care. She can wear heels, fine. I'm 6'1", but I've seen some chicks that are like 5'11". I dated a blonde chick that was 5'11", and I realized when I was like 35 and she was 21, and I said to myself later, I said, you know, the only reason I got this girl to be with me is because she can't find a guy that's 6'5" that wants to be with her. They're going with the 5'8" and 5'6". You know? So it showed me the reality of dating to say, wow, I didn't understand the privilege that I had. And it was easy for me to tell other guys like, hey, just be confident, bro. And even though, you know, I never said that, but that was the typical, like in my book, I say, never trust the dating coach. That's the first law of dating. Never trust, like
they're just there to take your money. Okay.
Exactly.
It's a scam. It's a scam. If you got to give someone money to pick up girls, to learn how to pick up girls, it is a scam.
And you know, most of them, what I found out, and this is what it was, you know, came to me is like, wow, most of them are not heterosexual. Most of the dating coaches, they have done things, they have said things that put them in a very suspicious category. Even the ones that have the girlfriend or the wife as a beard, like some of them would say, hey, you know, don't do this. Meanwhile, I came across, I said, wait a minute, if these guys have some magical words that they can say, why are their wives ugly? And they got very mad at me for saying that. And I said, well, don't get mad at me. Get mad at your wife for being ugly. I was like, I ain't the one married to an ugly chick trying to say
like Hugh Jackman. Look at Hugh Jackman, man. That guy's wife is dog ugly, dude. And she's like 18 years older than him. Well, he divorced her last year.
Oh,
But I'm pretty sure Hugh Jackman's gay, right?
Yeah,
His background is musical. Before his Wolverine, he was doing musical theater. Okay,
Yeah, and you know,
with an ugly older wife. Yeah,
yeah. You know, it always the question always comes up: how did they get the part? You know, to get that big in Hollywood, they're doing something that's not.
The director of the X-Men was Bryan Singer, and he's openly. In fact, he got in trouble. He got fired from that movie about what's his name, the lead singer of Queen. What the hell's his name?
Freddie Mercury?
Freddie Mercury. Yeah, he made a movie about Freddie Mercury. And he got fired during the movie because it turns out he was having sex with a lot of underage boys. But his name's Bryan Singer, and he's the one that directed the X-Men movies. He's the one that hired Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Holy smoke. This is, man, it just gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
When I think about, oh man, that's like, holy shit.
That's why he's blacklisted right now. He got busted.
Because
I mean, and who else was in his movie? The Superman Returns movie. Who was in that movie with him? Kevin Spacey.
Oh
yeah,
man,
Kevin
I heard
Spacey.
that guy. I heard he's creep level 10 or something like that, right?
Well, he's an admitted homosexual, Kevin Spacey. He admits it.
Yeah, and there was some women that accused him of something, and they ended up dead. Like, you can find the thing. Like, one girl took him to court. Next thing you know, boom! I think it was a car accident or OD or something.
Sheryl Crow dated Kevin Spacey back in the day. She wrote a song about it. My favorite mistake.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then again, Sheryl Crow also was in a relationship with Lance Armstrong, who was taking drugs while he was winning the Tour de Force. So
Wow. I tell you, man, it's really that is it's shocking. But Mr. X, these are two of the movies he's reviewed. This was on the thumbnail.
Well, I'm still in the middle of Devil Wears Prada. I just started that one, but I finished Wicked already. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now Wicked, when we were talking about, what was the premise? You were saying it's a different spin.
Okay, a gay guy named Gregory Maguire, he decided to rewrite the story about the Wizard of Oz. He decided to focus on the Wicked Witch instead of Dorothy. Okay, so he decided to write basically who was the Wicked Witch of the West? What was her story before she appears in Wizard of Oz? So he created this whole big backstory. It turns out that the Wicked Witch of the West was actually a nice girl. She was just misunderstood. Now, Disney loves to do this. They take a villain and they try to make that villain sympathetic. Okay, because women can do no wrong. They did that with Maleficent, Angelina Jolie. They did that with Cruella de Vil. Emma Stone did that. Okay, and now they're doing it with the Wicked Witch of the West. They made her basically a good guy. It's the world that's evil, that mistreated her because she's black, or sorry, because she's green and she's LGBTQ. So she's been persecuted her whole life. Okay, it's not fair. Blah blah blah. Woe is me. It turns out she's the most powerful person in Oz. Okay, and so they decided to write a story about her, how she's a nice girl that just got misunderstood. She's not wicked at all. She was labeled wicked by all the damn heterosexuals that were out there. Okay, all the white Christian heterosexuals. Okay, they labeled her as wicked, and that's why she's been persecuted. Okay, all these years. So you feel sorry for her. Get it? She's a victim.
So it's the gay version of
Wizard of Oz. It's all freaking gay. Yeah, the whole thing is gay.
Well, I think that's where
they wanted you to love the Wicked Witch of the West. Okay, they want you to love the Wicked Witch of the West so that you feel sorry for her when she finally dies at the end.
Wow, Mr. X, that's
no. I was just saying Hollywood in general, and even all these shows you see on Netflix. I don't watch them, but I hear it from my daughter because she watches this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just a gay agenda all around. They're just trying to throw. They're not even subtle about it anymore. It's just
there was some about it like 20 years ago, not anymore. Now it's just in your face.
Yeah. Well, it's what I call the tranny apocalypse, man. Yeah. And the tranny apocalypse, it's here. It's real. Mr. E is a legend. I guess I don't know if his archives are on BitChute. Him, Transpocalypse Now. There was a few others. I mean, they were attacked on YouTube for speaking the truth, and they were putting forth the brutal reality of it with what we see in Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood is just the fact on YouTube. Who's that dude that he wears the makeup? James Charles, right? Or something? Or who you had a different one, Diego? Him or I mean, people show me these. I get a lot of emails from them, and it's ridiculous. Matter of fact, let me put my email in the private chat for you, just in case, so we can keep in touch. So it's in the private chat. Yeah, for Diego. So just in case you want the email, if you ever want to, schedule another show or whenever, if it can help your channel, and I understand. I mean, you definitely do it for fun. And that's the real reason. I did it for a few years for that. And I kind of left because there was a dating coach that somebody was sending me pictures of, that he would walk behind kids and take pictures of people walking with their children, like 4, 5, 6 years old. And I said, wait a minute. And we got into it. And I posted it. I put it up there, put him on blast. And dude started hating me. And I'm saying, wait. You got a guy here that's walking behind people in Japan and other countries. He travels. I said, this is some predatory behavior, And then he's trying to tell guys, oh, well, this is how, women. He tries to act hetero, but he's not. And even worse, it seems like how you had already say about one of the guys, like A. Patterson saying here, Bryan Singer used to throw parties for underage boys. I mean,
that's what I said.
This is crazy. And, and I left for about a year. When I wrote Nightmare on Sperm Street, it took me about 8 months, maybe 9 months. It's a 350-page book, a lot of links, a lot of scientific research. Some women were very offended because I explained how, every man they sleep with, a part of that man stays with them, in them physically. I mean, they're getting, the vagina is it's an absorption. They have vagina suppositories because it goes into the vascular system so quickly. It is in them, not saying every little bit, but it's like a glass. If you hold a glass and I hand it to 20 people, you can wash off the outside of the glass. But if those 20 people dip their hand in the water, who wants to drink the water out that glass? And that shows the feminine women, look, take care of yourself. Don't be a sperm receptacle, and expect me to pay full price for the shit. That's the crazy thing. It's like, okay, I'm not looking for the Virgin Mary, but when you're 27, now it's half price. At 30, you're a clearance sale. 35, you're at the thrift store. And 40 and above, what it's like, look, you better stay with who you're with.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women don't realize that the more sex they have, the less valuable they are to men.
I've never seen a sock wear out a foot.
Yeah.
I've always seen the feet wear out the sock.
Yeah.
So, and I've studied medical for 20 years myself, and I understand this. With women that have had a lot of anal and vaginal sex, the skin between things, I forgot the name, the perineum, in between, they call it the taint asshole, taint pussy, but that spot in between, it gets thin. And if that breaks, she can get a serious infection and die, and there are women that have had, one of my friends, Juan Carlos, guy, really good friend from Uruguay. When I went to South America, he used to come up to New York, and he was telling me about, a girl he was with, and I'm like, wait a minute. I said, so you're having anal sex with her? Because he was saying, she had to go to the doctor because of a smell. And I'm thinking, so you're having anal sex and then you're having vaginal sex and you're wondering why her pussy smells. I said, what are you I said, where's your brain at, bro? And then he said, when she went to the doctor, he told her she felt embarrassed. And he goes, well, the reason I know is there's a fungus that only grows in the anus. And he found it in the culture of the vagina. So instead of saying, okay, stop letting somebody put shit in your cunt, he tells her, take this cream and it'll clear it up. So it's like the doctor must have been closet. I'm like, what the fuck type of medical?
What kind of doctor is this?
Yeah. And it's, a Hollywood doctor probably.
Yeah.
But there's more money to be made in sexual promiscuity. Now he could sell her drugs. The doctor's making money. The drug company's making money. That's what it all comes down to. All the money trail. Promiscuous women, more money is spent.
Who benefits from this? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it comes down to the money. Where are they going to make money off of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's sad because the women watch stuff like Sex in the City, and when I was watching Sex in the City, I wasn't too much worried about the women that were in their 30s and 40s that were watching the show. Okay. Because those women are either they're lost or they already know better. Okay. I was worried about the 13-year-old girls that are watching Sex in the City thinking this is the way men really are. Like if I fuck all these guys, I'm still going to land a high value man, still going to fall in love with me and marry me and pay all my fucking bills. And I'm still going to keep my career and all that kind of shit, right? Yeah. That's what I was worried about. And now, 20 years later, okay, now we're seeing are the fruits of that. Okay, and that's why things are so fucked up. Is because they watch shit like Sex in the City and they believed it to be true. Okay. And their lives didn't end up like Samantha and Carrie, okay, and Miranda and Charlotte, okay? They're fucking single moms here working bullshit jobs, gaining weight, smoking cigarettes, dependent on fucking antidepressants, okay? You know, with 3 baby daddies, you know, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't what Sex and the City promised me.
Yeah. And you know what they don't see in Sex and the City? One thing, because I wrote about it in Sperm Street, where I put it in chapter 5 about cultures of promiscuity, you know, and saying that one of the characters, I didn't watch a lot of it, but I did the research more like scientifically on the episodes where she contracted chlamydia. And I forgot which one. And they acted like
you talked about it. I saw your video. You talked about it. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the? And it was like no big thing. And I'm like, chlamydia, that stays with you. It just isn't, you know, detected at the time, but it's still in her. So that, and then I think it was, I don't know if it was the Kim Cattrall character that she couldn't have kids. They had to adopt a Chinese kid or something.
It was Charlotte, but eventually she could. Eventually, later on, she does give birth. But yeah, initially she couldn't have kids, but then later on she does. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when a woman is 30, 90% of her eggs are gone through menstruation. 35, 95%.
She gets pregnant like at 41 or something like that. 42.
Yeah, and that's like, it's like, come on. It's like the pipe dreams. It's like what they implant an egg, you know, it's like, come on, you know, and again, it's giving young girls false hope, and it's kind of turning them into something that's why I called it Nightmare on Sperm Street. It's turning them into a nightmare on Sperm Street. And you know, when I look back, maybe I should have called it something different. Scribes like, you know, it's hard for me to market that to a college, you know, the word sperm in it. And I said, you're absolutely right. It needs to be, especially with the LG agenda, you know, they're not trying to hear it, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever watched Sex and the City? Have you ever watched an episode?
I haven't watched the full episode, but
I've watched a couple way back.
If you ever watch just one episode, you're going to realize that there's no men involved in the show. No, there's no straight men involved in the show. Not in the writing, not in the direction, not in the acting. Okay, okay. There's no men that act like men on that show. Okay, these are caricatures of what gay guys and women think men are. Okay, they're defined by their status. Okay, they're an executive. Okay, they're rich. They're super good looking. They have you know, they're wearing designer clothes. Okay, that kind of a thing. Okay, that's what men are to the women on that show. They're not real people. Okay,
and they're all rich,
real
right?
Men.
They're all wealthy men, right?
It's the same thing over. They meet a guy, they fuck the guy, but 5 minutes before the episode's over, they find something wrong with the guy. Next episode, rinse and repeat. You know, there's no real men on the show, so you never get like, you know, like the way things happen. It always favors a woman because the show's written for women. It never ever shows like for example, none of the women ever get cheated on by any of the hundreds of guys they fuck. Not one of them ever cheats on them, but they're the ones that do the cheating. You see what I mean? And that's just not realistic at all. At all.
And
you know?
I think, it conditions them even into something worse. Capital J just asked me to mention from Sperm Street that there is a thing where when women are promiscuous too much, they lack the ability to pair bond.
That's right.
Yeah. So you know,
that's right. They can't pair bond.
Yeah, and this is something that more younger women need to know, to say, look, value yourself. You know that you never see. A plug receptacle doesn't plug into a plug. The plug is what plugs into the receptacle.
Yes.
So, you know, and this is where they say sometimes certain women get a thing called penis envy. You know, it's like they try to say a woman can't fuck you. They get fucked.
Yeah. That's what Freud said that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, but it you know, it's just like it was logic to me. It's saying, you know, hey, it's great to think, all right, if she's riding and all, yeah, great. But it's just what it is. Yeah. You know, we're the ones that are doing that act. And I would hope, I wrote the book for people to realize to value themselves more. Hopefully the youth, and to say, the first chapter is called Behind the Lips, and it talks all about everything you can catch from kissing. In the 90s, they tried to say in 80s, oh, you couldn't get HIV from kissing. Now it's a proven fact you can. Sores in the mouth, little things like that. Male DNA is so strong that a 30-second kiss can transfer male DNA through the saliva. And young women need to know this, to say, look,
weren't you the one that said that Kirk Douglas got had throat cancer because he ate out a girl?
Yeah, the same thing that causes cervical cancer in women causes throat cancer in men. So he was eating some dirty poontang.
Yeah. Well, he lived to be like 101, but
yeah, he did. He definitely. But who knows? He could have been a butt pirate too. Hollywood, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. He could.
Well, one of the guys that came up with Kirk Douglas was Tony Curtis. He came up in Hollywood around the same time, and he admitted in interviews that he's like, I fucked men and women in order to get jobs. Okay.
Wow.
Clark Gable fucked the guy in order to get a job. Okay. Rhett Butler himself. Okay.
Holy.
Cary Grant was in a relationship with a dude the whole time he was married. His wife didn't even live with him. He lived with a guy named Randolph Scott, who's another actor.
What the holy?
Cary Grant.
John Travolta was gay, also. You know that. Too.
I think he is. Yeah, I think.
No,
he is.
I have relatives who worked in media. And
it's his religion. Yeah, they don't lie.
They met him and everything, and confirmed he's gay.
I saw a picture of him like having a kissing another guy while Kelly Preston, his wife, was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, which sucks because he was one of my idols. When I saw Saturday Night Fever when I was a little boy, and I was just like, oh my god, this is the coolest movie in the whole world.
Travolta is definitely Flame City. He's
and then I saw him in Pulp Fiction. Later on, I was like, dude, I like Travolta. He's fucking awesome. And then I find out this shit. Just like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Never meet your heroes, dude. Never meet your heroes.
It's brutal. But
I remember Vinny Barbarino on Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh yeah,
I love that show, man.
Yeah.
How could you tell me that guy was gay? He's Vinny Barbarino. But then again,
the majority of them, it's so crazy. And I'm so glad you probably, honestly, I think you're the best channel on YouTube for reviewing chick flicks, man, because
I break them down, man. It's just I pull apart the bullshit.
Actually, can I ask Diego a question? I have a question real quick.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is my personal opinion. I'm only speaking for myself. But I think as a heterosexual male, as we all are here, would you or would you not agree that it's actually important for the heterosexual male to be educated on the traits of a homosexual male, like how he goes to meet men, how he goes to pick up men? I think it's important for heterosexual men to know this, to be aware, to not get caught in a dangerous situation.
Well, I mean, like if you're gonna get hit on by a guy, dude, you're probably in a gay neighborhood or in a gay bar.
No, but I've seen videos where they do it at places like Planet Fitness, like in the gym or public restrooms or public parks. I've
never been hit on by a guy in a gym before, and I go to the gym like almost every day. I go to LA Fit.
You know what I think has something to do with it though? We're tall men. I think they do this to guys that are like 5'5", 5'4", 5'3". It's
good point.
A taller gay guy to a shorter man or somebody who feels dominant. It's another reason why women say they go for guys like us that are taller. They see that, okay, they feel that we can protect them more.
Exactly.
And I let them know, we can, but hey, short guys will shoot you. They can't. I remember a short guy saying in the gym once, you're just getting big to get shot. And to another guy, and I'm like, well, I'm listening and I'm just saying, I'm just doing calisthenics and light weights to keep in shape. I've always just liked exercise. I was in the military as a teenager.
So was I. I was Marine Corps.
Wow, I was U.S. Army. Yeah, great, man. It's just, it just, staying in shape is good. And as we said before, there's a limit. You don't want to take needles and stuff.
No, I don't.
Mr. X is saying, I think because I didn't know. I mean, guys were trolling me so hard in 2020 and 2021 because I was calling these guys out. And you had dating coaches literally trying to tell guys they can pick up chicks at gay bars, getting them to pay. And I said, you gotta be crazy.
Yeah.
And then, one guy said, he goes, what they're doing to you is called negging, Negging.
Yeah, that's mystery. That's what's his name? The guy who wrote The Game.
Neil Strauss.
Neil Strauss. Yeah, that's
right? Tiny little crackhead guy.
Nobody goes to nightclubs anymore, man.
Yeah,
that's dead.
And mystery is like a peacock, walking around with the Dr. Seuss hat.
Yeah, with his eyeliner on and shit. Just insulting women. Trying to get them to play off of each other. Yeah.
And getting no women, A. Patterson says rank city estimated LGBTQ population New York, 377 thousand. Los Angeles is second. I think that's even higher because New York City.
I thought San Francisco was the highest. You know.
Yeah, San Fran. I mean, he's saying, are these?
And that doesn't include bisexual too, or guys who are in the closet.
There's no such thing as bisexual guys.
I agree with that too. But I'm saying,
every bisexual woman ends up with a man. Every bisexual man ends up with a man. Okay.
Yeah.
So
well, I think men are gay if they do that, but women can be in between.
He had a good point. He said, I don't think there's anything. He goes, I don't think there's a thing as a gay woman. He said, because they will, he goes, when you look at women, they're still using a male prosthetic to have sex with each other. He goes, gay men don't do that.
Yeah.
It's 100% faggotry, you know, and that's just, you know, YouTube guidelines tell them, you know, this is just the reflection of my opinion, not the channel. Yeah. But you know, in New York City, if they're going to say 300, this is a city. I'm in New York City. This is what, 8 million to 11 million. It was 8 million when I was growing up. I think it's 11 now, but you know, they try to wish-wash the numbers. You can't tell me not a million of these people ain't, you know, gay. It's probably way more.
You know, I'm from Chicago myself, you know, and the big cities have a huge gay population because they gravitate. They leave Jerkwater, Illinois. They leave, you know, Nebraska, and they go to the big cities. You know, where they can find more of each other there. You know, so they go to LA, they go to San Francisco, they go to Seattle, they go to Chicago, they go to Miami, they go to New York, you know, because that's where they're going to find more of themselves over there. More people like them.
Oh, yeah. A. Patterson's got new statistics. Number one, this is it, San Francisco, 14.4%. Holy smokes. Seattle's number two. Atlanta. Yeah, I heard Atlanta's brutal, man. It just... A
lot of movies are being made in Atlanta now. They're leaving Hollywood and they're going to Atlanta and Texas. So you're going to get more, you know, gay people moving in there now.
And in Tyler Perry, I mean, you got the guy, they said, why doesn't he just get the surgery? He's got the dress on so much.
Yeah.
Minneapolis, Boston, Sacramento, Portland, Denver, Washington, D.C. Wow. I think this is just, you know, I wonder, you know, because it, like you said, it was a little more subtle back in our day because Mr. X is the same age. You know, we're all Gen X, right?
Yeah, Gen X.
And Diego made an excellent point. I will say, I'm sorry, Eddie.
No, go ahead.
No, Diego made a great point when he said that they have the microphone. And that's true. So we can't, it's not something as the heterosexual man can say, well, I'm not gay, so who cares? No, it's affecting our daily lives, whether it be laws, policies, movies, entertainment. It is affecting us. We can't ignore it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You know, it's funny what you said there because you said about the I saw an interview with Terrence Howard. You know, Terrence Howard, Hustle and Flow and all that. Mm-hmm. The original Iron, what do you call it? The original War Machine from Avengers, from Iron Man. He said in an interview that he refused. Whenever they asked him to wear a dress in a movie, he always refused. He said, "I'm never going to be in a movie where I'm dressed like a woman. I'm never going to kiss a guy in a movie. Okay, because this is my career. This is my image. Okay." Mm-hmm. And then you look at the guys that have done that. Look at Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. Okay, Will Smith. Okay, all these guys have worn dresses in movies. Have dressed like women in movies. Yeah, you know,
these guys straight under the table, man.
Jamie Foxx. I mean, remember Shanae from Living Color?
Before our time, Flip Wilson. He had a whole show. I remember my father never liked Flip Wilson, and you know, the Geraldine, and you know, then he'd be Flip Wilson, and you know, Flip, just the name. Was he flip back and forth? Timbo said, I think Timbo might be from Chicago. He says, saw a giant dude in a dress when I was driving in Halstead in Chicago, Boys Town. They call it.
Halstead is that's Boys Town, Chicago. It's just north of Wrigley Field. Everything north of Wrigley Field is the gay neighborhood.
Wow,
Boys Town.
Because in Manhattan, I think it's like around 47th and 9th Avenue.
Isn't it Chelsea? Isn't Chelsea? That's like where the Village people are from, and all that.
Yeah.
All the other gates.
Well, no, the Village is more downtown. That's like you're looking almost by Soho. Okay. So
I know the Village people were gay.
Yes.
But the lead singer, he was straight.
Oh, really? I didn't know. Wow.
Okay, but as a heterosexual male, I can admit I kind of like their music. I kind of like their songs.
I have to admit, well, the only song that I kind of was okay was Macho Man. But then when you'll see the video, you know, it's kind of like
I know. But in the Navy, YMCA, they were kind of
YMCA was I saw You Can't Stop the Music, and you know who the male lead was in that movie? Bruce Jenner.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Before he was Caitlyn Jenner. He was like the main character in that movie.
That's crazy. I just, wow.
I mean, that was a double feature with Xanadu back in the day. My aunt and uncle took me to go see. I was a little kid. I didn't know what gay people were back then. I had no idea. You know, Steve Gutenberg is like roller skating down, Times Square and stuff. And, you got the Indian guy, with his butt showing up.
Yeah, he was straight Flame City. Yeah, he was definitely. And, I have to admit, as a kid in the late 70s, the music, they had some decent music, had some, I was like, wow, it's a happy music, you're not, it's like, wow, this is groove. And even today, when I hear Casey and the Sunshine Band and some of these guys, I say, wow, man, this is,
Studio 54 music, that stuff was pretty good.
And don't forget him.
Yeah, you're right.
He was gay, but he had great music.
And
who was gay? Who had great music? Who?
Elton John.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah.
He had great music, though. It was great.
George Michael had some great songs, too.
Oh, yeah, man. He was one of his songs. It really was putting a wake up call. Everything She Wants.
He did that with Wham back when he was with Wham. That was the last song he did with Wham before he went solo.
It's so funny. That album cover is him and the guy, and the name of the album is Make It Big.
Believe it or not, I saw a documentary, and believe it or not, his partner in Wham was straight. That's what he said. He said he was straight. If George was the gay one, I was the straight one. That's what he said.
That's kind of, that's a tough one there. He just, but he could. I tell you one thing: his music was good. Everything She Wants is a slamming song, man.
Wake me up before you go.
Yeah, that one was kind of, when I saw that with the shorts, I'm like, wait a second.
He had those white and blue Speedos. He had the pink sweater, and he had the dishwashing gloves.
Yeah, that one I couldn't. A. Patterson says the whole Vogue movement started in New York City, and this movie was about those times. So he left the link for that. And I mean, the whole agenda is there. Are there any movies that you reviewed that stand out? Like, what's your top one that
Well, I think Sex and the City is the one that I've got the most views. Like, I've had thousands of people watch my Sex and the City videos. Okay, but I reviewed a lot. I've reviewed. Like I said, Devil Wears Prada now, Legally Blonde. I reviewed The Notebook, even old movies like Breakfast at Tiffany's. I reviewed that one. Okay, I've even reviewed movies for guys, chick flicks for guys. For example, High Fidelity with John Cusack. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Okay, I'm from Chicago. It takes place in Chicago. That's a chick flick for men. Okay, Swingers with Vince Vaughn. Okay, that's a chick flick for men. Things like that, Officer and a Gentleman, that's a chick flick for men. We were in the military, romance in the military, Yeah,
I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Officer and a Gentleman.
Deborah Winger and Richard Gere, Pretty Woman, I reviewed that one. With My Best Friend's Wedding, I reviewed that. Thelma and Louise, Romeo and Juliet. I mean, there's Mean Girls. There's so many I've reviewed,
Officer and the Gentleman, it's a good lesson in that about the danger of simping when the guy swallowed the wedding ring because, and those girls were basically, they weren't the most cleanest.
They're just trying to get out of that trailer park town they're from, latch onto an officer and get the hell out.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's true. I remember when I checked into my duty station at Fort Knox to go to tank school because I was a tanker. The women were there in the parking lot. They knew exactly what time we were going to get off the bus.
Exactly.
They were waiting for us.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I saw the difference, man. If you were a tall guy in the military, man, it was great. It was like the uniform, they were there. And, being around, that atmosphere was like a real sphere of men where everybody's going out to get laid, not closet shit, And it just now, I don't know. I mean, I think I joined as soon as I turned 18. So, I got out. I was like 22. And
I was 21 when I joined, but
I just, it was amazing because being so young, it was like I did so much. And people, they looked at it as different. I was a young, skinny kid. I'm still a slim guy, but they were just like, man, I said, look, anything to get out of New York City. I would have went at 17. My mother signed the papers and and they were like, let's just wait till you turn 18, be a little, the recruiter was smart. He was a smart guy. He knew how to, say, listen, you want to get in, I'll get you in as long as you go, because there's so many guys that say they want to go in at the last minute, you know,
They get back out. Yeah.
I was like, listen, man, you get me in. I'm Fort Knox, Fort Hood, Fort Irwin, all of that stuff. And I worked with a few Marines. I remember.
Yeah, because our tank school's in Fort Knox.
Oh wow, wow!
Yeah,
I think
that's where they taught us the M1A1s. Yeah,
you guys go through 12 weeks of basic, right?
No, it's 13 weeks of boot camp, and then after that, we go to MCT, military combat training. For me, that was in Camp Pendleton. My boot camp was in Camp Lejeune.
Okay, so it's either Lejeune.
No, sorry, San Diego. I was in San Diego. Sorry, San Diego for boot camp. I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, but my tank school was in Fort Knox.
All right, because it's either 1 or 2 for basic, Paris Island or San Diego.
Or San Diego. I went to San Diego. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because guys were telling me. I mean, yeah, they. I saw after I got out of basic. You know, I met a few, and yeah, it definitely. I think there's just something about guys that have been in the military that we kind of, not all of us, but you know, the guys who came through, you know, good, you know, because some guys come through and they do have some mental stuff. And
well, honestly, man, I mean, I had some PTSD because, you know, I went in there, you know, as a kid, and then all of a sudden September 11th happened. You know, next thing you know, I'm in Iraq. Okay, then I'm in Kosovo. I was in Kosovo first, and then I was in Iraq. Then I was in Afghanistan. You know, so yeah, and I'm a combat MOS. Okay, I was a tanker, M1A1s. You know,
yeah, so M1 Abrams, right?
Yeah, M1A1s. Yeah.
Wow.
So you know, I came back. You know, I was just like, you know, poof. You know, I had to readjust to society. I had to learn how to do that.
It's a real thing. We have a guy, Jake. He comes on. He used to come on all the time. He's a Marine. He was in Afghanistan for a while. I think certified parachuter. You know, now he's skydiver. So I didn't know Marines. Well, I guess they have airborne, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I think he was airborne in the Marines, and yeah, PTSD is a real thing, man. It just it's, you know, I thank goodness I'm a vet because I never thought about medical. I just always had it, you know, for free because I'm
TRICARE. Yeah, TRICARE.
yeah, you know, and I'm just like, you know,
great.
An emergency. You know, I didn't have to. I wasn't scared of Obamacare. I didn't know why people, you know, because they had to pay and all of this. I'm like, what, you know? And it's just, and I've traveled a lot even before. My father worked for the airline, so as a kid,
so did mine. My dad worked for TWA, and then he worked for American when they got bought.
Yeah, American Airlines. Yeah, and he, my dad, JFK. He worked at JFK, LaGuardia. Then he moved to Texas at Dallas Fort Worth Airport, which at the time was like the biggest airport in the world. You know, this was like the 80s, or you know, when
DFW. Then O'Hare was the busiest one. O'Hare in Chicago was the busiest, but the biggest was DFW.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I got a picture. We traveled to Chicago one time. I was real young, maybe 3-4 years old. I think they were thinking about there or New York, you know, and eventually New York won. I was born in Brooklyn. And then, yeah, it was, you know, I look at it as I rode in the 747, went on the little top part, you know, London, you know, I have family, aunts and stuff in London, family, you know, all, you know, good few places, Caribbean, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as a civilian, you know, I've been to South America and stuff. And, you know, I'm thinking about Panama. Scribe, he's down. He says, look, you got to check it out. It's great. So I told him, yeah. I said, you know, I said in the future, you know, I'll look at it. Canada was all right. I used to see a chick in Montreal, and she was kind of like modelish, like, you know, tall, slim, you know, not, you know, well endowed. You know, they're more of that flat type of, you know, but very pretty face. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. As long as she got a nice ass and a pretty face, that's enough.
Yeah, I'm more of that. Yeah, she doesn't have to have crazy knockers, but I'm more of that type of. Because some guys, I don't know, they just feel the, you know, the more of what do they say, a T guy or a tits guy or an ass.
Yeah. I mean, I am a TNA guy, definitely. I mean, I like a good set of tits, but you know, the fake ones, they look fake. You know, I used to work in a titty bar, okay, up to my ass and fucking fake titties all the time. You know, the real looking ones, you know, like just feel better, look better on them.
And if it's a choice, I'd rather the decent ass instead of, you know. Yeah. Because a tits with no ass, kind of it's like.
Well, the ass says a lot. The ass means that she's active. She keeps in shape. You know, she's doing things. She's moving her body and stuff. You know,
exactly.
You know, once you get the cellulite and all that kind of stuff, this is a girl that sits on the couch.
Yeah.
Okay, watching her fucking reality shows and Marvelous Miss Mavel or whatever the fuck is on fucking Netflix, or whatever. You know.
Yeah. Above all that, I'm definitely A. Patterson's right. I am a face man. From, you know, I look at that if she ain't, I just don't see it happening. You know, if the face, it's got to at least have some type. I got to have some type of attraction there.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and men.
Now we've all done dirty. Okay, we've all done it.
Man.
Okay, you know.
I remember in the Army, they shook my hand one time in my entire career. I missed formation, and thank goodness it was on a day like one of those payday activity days, you know. And some guys saw me walk into base like at 10 a.m. And I'm like saying, oh my goodness. And they pick me up, they bring me, and the sergeant just comes out, he shakes my hand and he's like, welcome to the club. He goes, don't you ever try to say you've never slept with, you know, something that ain't, you know. I mean, the lady was old. She just was kind of like, it was like just going into a spider's web of, you know, just you join the club. It's like, yeah, we've all done it. We've all been with undesirables. And it's part of, you know, part of being a man. You know, it's definitely.
You know, they made a movie in the late '80s. River Phoenix was in it, and it takes place during the Vietnam War, where these guys were about to go off to Vietnam, and they made a bet with each other who could bang the ugliest girl.
Oh my goodness!
Apparently, it's based on a true story. It was called it was called Dogfight, 1991, Dogfight. Okay, you should watch that sometimes. Okay, they have to find, like, all the Marines go out there to find the ugliest girl. They bring them back to this dance, and they all judge each other which one brought the ugliest girl.
Oh my goodness!
And the girl, of course, doesn't know that she's ugly. You know.
I mean, I used to think, like, you know, because sometimes I would think, oh well, you know, there's not really much, you know, out, because, you know, you always say, okay, everybody's been with one of the, you know, the non-pretty. Yeah. I've seen some where I'm just like, oh no, I couldn't. I was like, no way. It just, I mean, brutal. I mean, one guy I remember, I had did a semester at New York Tech, and his mom came, and we were laughing because somebody said, you know, she looked like Mick Jagger, you know. You know, so we were just like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't think anything like that. But, you know, it's guy talk, you know. It's definitely. So you're saying Sex in the City, that was, you know, your top one. What's the second?
I don't know, man. I mean, a lot of people just like my reviews. I couldn't tell you for sure which ones I get a lot from. You know, I've reviewed so many different types of movies. You know, it's just like people, you know, if they're scrolling through my channel, if it's a movie that they like, you know, then they'll stop by and they'll watch my videos and then they'll comment on it. If it's a movie they're not interested in or something, then they won't. You know, but
the newest series you're doing, Devil Wears Prada. What's the premise on that one?
Well, it's a chick flick, but it's not a rom-com. Okay, I've never seen this movie before until last week. Last week was the first time I ever watched it. Okay. But I know a lot of women talk about this movie. You know, they quote it all the time. You know, it's one of those movies that solidified Meryl Streep's career in Hollywood. She's known for it, you know, for playing this character in the movie. So I figured I'd check it out. And I actually enjoyed most of it. Okay. I didn't like the end. The ending was kind of stupid. It was unbelievable. Okay. But the things that they talk about in the movie are very realistic. If you're living in a capitalist society, you know, if you're trying to make it, you know, if you're a low man on the totem pole and you're trying to make it to the top of the corporate ladder, you've got to make sacrifices. You're going to have to work your ass off. You're going to have to give up things. Okay. Everything that you do is going to be all about your job, all about producing, making money for the company. And that's how you get promoted. That's how you get more authority. That's how you get more power. Okay. But you've got to sacrifice a lot of things. You got to sacrifice relationships. You got to sacrifice your family. You got to sacrifice your free time, you know, even your health. Okay. In order to make it there. Okay. That's the American way. And the movie talks about that. You know, and I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. I've never seen a chick flick that was this introspective about capitalism, you know, about like what it takes to get where you want to be. You know, you got to be the hardest working man in the room. You got to outwork everybody else. Yeah. You know, and I've worked in sales. I've worked in corporate. You know, you've got to produce. Yeah. You've got to produce money. That's the bottom line.
Exactly. You know? First one there, last one to leave. You know, highly motivated. What about the what is it? It's Us in the End. The other one. It
ends with us.
It ends with. What's that one about?
Oh, that's just it's a load of crap. It's about this self-entitled narcissistic bitch who has daddy issues. Of course, she has daddy issues. Okay, and she decides she wants to open up. Her dad dies. She refuses to say anything good about him at his own funeral, at her dad's funeral. Okay, and then she decides to open up a store, a flower store. Her name is Lily Bloom. I'm not making that up. Her name is Lily Blossom Bloom, and she, of course, she loves flowers. She decides to open up a flower store in Boston, and she meets this guy who's a neurosurgeon, good-looking guy, neurosurgeon. The neurosurgeon, he's chasing her like Pepe Le Pew did in those cartoons, and she's resisting him. She finally gives in to him. He's immediately in love with her, simping for her, all this kind of stuff. She gives in to him. She tells him about her ex-boyfriend that she was in love with a long time ago, that she lost her virginity with. He was homeless when she fucked him. So we get flashbacks of that when she was a teenager, fucking this homeless kid, all right, that she fell in love with. He's the one that she lost her virginity to. Okay, and then in the future, she marries this guy, and then she runs into the old boyfriend again. It turns out he owns this restaurant in Boston. Okay, that she goes to. So now she's starting to develop feelings for him again. Okay. So she's torn between these two high value men. Okay, well, her husband ends up beating the crap out of her by accident. It looks like at the end we find out it was on purpose, but during the movie it makes it look like it was an accident. And so she's got her dad beat up her mom. That's why she hated her dad. And all this kind of crap. And eventually she ends up divorcing her husband after she has his kid, and she goes with the old boyfriend that she lost her virginity to. So she's basically cheating on her husband the whole time. And the movie expects us to feel sorry for her, even though she's fucking around on her husband. Okay, you know what I mean? It's like like he's supposed to be the bad guy, but you actually feel sorry for him more because she's the one that's lying to him. You know what I mean?
And there's a real life counterpart to that. Now that you say it, it reminds me of something. There was a Chinese doctor, a brain surgeon, neuro something in that area, high level. And he was married, and I think 3 years in, and that's when he found out his wife was undercover call girling, and the guy was making like $3 million a year.
Yeah,
and I think she made like $800,000 over a couple of years, and he found out, and I'm just like, wow, it's brutal because they need.
You wonder why men don't get married anymore.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
This whole feminism shit is finally men have had enough of it. Okay. Yeah. We've been talked down to. We've been told that we're all pieces of shit. Women are all strong and powerful and independent, and it's all about you respecting the woman. It's all about, catering, being romantic to the woman. And so many men have been fucked over in the past, like 20 years or so, divorced, raped. Okay. The woman always gets custody. Even if the woman cheats, she gets custody of the kids. She gets the house. He's got to pay alimony. He's got to pay child support. Even if the kid's not his, he's got to pay child support. He's living in a fucking studio apartment where his wife is keeping the house, and she's taking the alimony payments and spending it on her fucking big dick boyfriend. Okay, that her kids have to see her and listen to her fucking every night.
Yep. That is like, it's so.
And you wonder why kids grow up all fucked up.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible.
You got the teenage girls are getting pregnant left and right. Mm-hmm. Okay, the guys are becoming criminals. They're getting addicted to drugs and shit. They're fathering kids too. They have no respect for women because they don't even respect their own fucking mom.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They grow up seeing that, and
the girl sees that. Oh yeah, well mom might be a slut, so I'm gonna be a slut too, and it doesn't matter because I'll find a guy who's gonna support me, so it doesn't fucking matter. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and it's the culture. I think they call it hoe culture. Hoe culture. I've heard it called.
And all the TV shows promote it. All the TV shows, when a woman's fucking around, she's exploring her sexuality. Okay, and if you don't like it, that means you're intimidated by a woman, by a strong, independent woman. But when a man does that, it's because he's a hoe. He's a piece of shit. He's a dog.
Yeah,
he can't control himself. He can't keep it in his own pants. He's immature. He's a little boy.
Yeah, I brought up the thing of. They always try to say a woman who, porn stars, everything, any type of whore. Oh, well, she can still make a housewife. No, she can't. Right. But then I posed the question. I said, you ever hear them say about a guy who's cheated on every woman he's been with? He's promiscuous. They never talk about him as husband material. Yeah. They don't even give but Ed Patterson says the creepiest low-key incest movie is the 1995 Clueless with Alicia Silverstone.
Silverstone, yeah, she fell in love with her brother or something in that one.
What? She falls in love with her stepbrother, he says.
Yeah, wow. I saw that movie back in the day.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. And Azroon, good to see you, brother. He this is like, now that you bring to light a lot of the stuff of how they bash masculinity, because when masculinity is brought up, it now all of a sudden it's toxic. And I tell people there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's toxic behavior.
There's toxic people, exactly. Toxic behavior.
Yeah, exactly. But
it knows no gender. It knows no gender.
Exactly. It knows no gender. Femininity and masculinity are beautiful things.
Yes.
And that's just what.
And they can also be used as weapons.
Yes.
You know, it's all about the person who's wielding it.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely the microphone. That was like one of the best points I think you've brought up. They have the microphone, and any hetero guy that comes up and says anything, it's like you don't see him anymore. The career isn't there. It seems like they have to do these so-called deeds to get into Hollywood. And Hollywood, as far back as I look, all I'm seeing is this type of behavior. Mr. Super Sidewinder says Blue Lagoon and Star Wars promoted brother and sister too. Wow, I didn't know Blue Lagoon was brother and sister.
I don't know if it was or not. They were little kids when they got cast away into that island.
Yeah, I was really young when
I don't think they were brother and sister, but they were little kids, and they were both stranded on the island. They both grew up together. Of course, they had sex and had a baby, and then they get rescued.
Yeah. And Star Wars, there was a scene but it was more, I guess after that it was Han Solo.
But for the record, Brooke Shields was 15 years old when she did Blue Lagoon. Okay,
wow, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And when she was topless and all, she was 15 years old having a sex scene with an 18-year-old Christopher Atkins. So yeah,
that is
that's Hollywood.
Yeah, that's Hollywood, exactly.
I mean, even Jada Pinkett, man, her gay son, Jaden. He did a love scene with an Asian girl when he was like 12 years old. The Karate Kid movie, the one that actually took place in China, was about kung fu. Remember that one?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't see it, but yeah, I
he had a love scene with a teenage girl, and he was 12 years old.
This is Hollywood. This is crazy. A. Patterson says cousins. Okay, they were cousins. He's saying.
Okay.
Brooke Shields and Brooke Shields now is she's brutal now.
She's all fucked up in the head. Yeah, postpartum depression. She's all psycho and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, she's been through a lot of guys. I think Andre Agassi did a number on her. You know,
the tennis player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That it's sad, man. It's sad how the machine chews them up and just spits them out.
Well, I think the industry did. Yeah. You know, her mom. I mean, like it tricked her out. You know, tricked her out to Hollywood. Tricked her out to producers, directors. You know, that's what happened to Natalie Wood. Her mom tricked her out to a bunch of actors and producers. That's how she got her acting jobs when she was a little girl. That's how she got Miracle on 34th Street. You know, she tricked out her little girl to some director.
That is so. And they don't talk about
no wonder she was so fucked up in the head.
Yeah.
No wonder. Her husband Robert Wagner comes home to his boat, his yacht, and finds her fucking Christopher Walken, kicks Christopher Walken out of there, then throws Natalie Wood into the fucking ocean, and she drowns.
Yeah, and that I remember hearing about that.
And he got away with it. He's not in jail.
Yeah, he's just straight. Because and what did he play in that movie? Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart. Yeah.
Straight some
with Stephanie Powers.
Straight some heart. That is so messed up.
You should watch that show. Remember, Lionel Sander played Max, the limo driver.
Yeah. And you did one on Audrey Hepburn, right?
Yeah, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, I never saw that, but like, what's the deal with that one?
Okay, well, she's a prostitute. Okay, she's a prostitute living in New York. She lives off of rich men. She lives off of sugar daddies. Okay, and this guy moves in, and guess what? He's like a male gigolo too. He's got a sugar mama. Okay, played by Patricia. I can't remember her name. Patricia. She was married to the guy that invented Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Roald Dahl. It was Roald Dahl's wife. Anyway, she was in the movie too, and she's his sugar daddy. George Papard plays the gigolo guy. Now, George Papard, you remember him? He was Hannibal on the A-Team.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so he's like the good-looking young guy. He moves into the building. His sugar mama, who's married, is paying all of his bills. So he just sits there and does nothing. He says he's a writer, and she bought him a typewriter, but he doesn't write. He just smokes cigarettes and tries to flirt with Audrey Hepburn, who is Holly Golightly, and she is a prostitute. She dates rich men. She's trying to find a rich guy to marry her so that she can get her brother out of the army and take care of him. Okay, it turns out that she was from this redneck like hillbilly town, and she's actually has a husband, and Holly Golightly's on her real name. She's a redneck, okay, and her husband who's played by the dad from the Beverly Hillbillies, Buddy Epson. You know, he tracks her down to New York and says, "Hey, you got to come back to Louisiana. We got a farm to work and blah blah blah." You know, he married her when she was like 13 or something. Okay, so she ran away. She's like, "No, I'm going to stay here. You know, I'm a beautiful bird and I can't be caged or whatever." And so she starts screwing around with the new guy, right? The new guy, the young guy, George Papard, the guy Hannibal from the A-Team. They start messing around. Hannibal's in love with her. He neglects his sugar mama just to be with her. She blows him off so she can go out with rich guys. They have parties. They get drunk. They smoke cigarettes and all this kind of stuff. And then finally, she decides that she's going to marry this one rich guy. That breaks George Papard's heart, okay? Because he decides he doesn't want to be a gigolo anymore. He wants to become become a serious writer. So he moves out of the apartment. He cuts off his sugar mama, you know, and tries to make it on his own. Then she, at the end of the movie, the rich guy that she falls in love with dumps her because she gets arrested. Turns out that she was running messages for the mob. Okay, and so now she lost her sugar daddy. So she realized that she's in love with the other guy, the gigolo. Okay. And at the end, he tells her, hey, listen, you know, you said that you're a free girl, but the truth is you're locked up in a cage. You won't let anybody love you. Okay. You call yourself free, but you're not free. You built your own cage, your own prison that you're trapped in, and you're going to be there forever if you don't ever get out of it. And then she runs after him in the rain and shit, and they hug each other and fall in love. So it's about two prostitutes that fall in love.
Holy smokes! Yeah, the box.
It was based on a book called Breakfast at Tiffany's. That was written by a gay guy. Okay, Truman Capote.
Again, holy shit! Again,
I read the book. It's a short. I read the book.
Holy smokes! And Timbo says the creepiness goes all the way back to Shirley Temple. Yes, it does. The Good Ship Lollipop. You know, one guy brought that to my attention.
I saw some stuff on YouTube. I think they pulled it down now. They had some stuff of Shirley Temple, like in a Hawaiian dress. I mean, she looked like she's 6 years old. Okay, and they showed her crotch. Okay, like they showed that. You know,
what the fuck, man? What?
Yeah, like they went underneath the skirt. The cameraman went underneath the skirt.
That's
okay. And this is a little girl.
This is some,
you know. Shit, but you know, they did this stuff to Judy Garland too. You know, Spencer Tracy was fucking Judy Garland when she was 11 years old. Okay, Louis B. Mayer was fucking her when she was 10 years old. Okay, I mean, she was already fucked up by the time she, you know, started playing Dorothy. You know,
damn, I didn't even know. I heard they really screwed her up with Dorothy, like taking down her breast.
And they got her hooked on drugs. They got her hooked on diet pills, alcohol, all sorts of amphetamines, everything.
Oh man,
you know, it's sad. I mean, she died. She was 46, I think, when she died, but she looked like she was 66.
Yeah, they just put her through the mill. It just and she her daughter's Liza Minnelli, right?
Yes, and there's another one.
Yeah,
just you know,
generational trauma with Hollywood. Damn, that's I got to check out the Barbie one though. I saw clips, but I just never sat down to watch. It's worth watching, you think?
It's worth watching, but you got to. It's obviously it's misandric. Okay, they hate men in the movie. Okay. Every man in the movie is an idiot, is evil, or is a coward. Okay, every single man in the movie. All right.
Wow.
But you're going to notice that the only one that does anything about their situation, that tries to change their situation in the movie, is Ken. He's the only one that actually tries to change his situation. He tries to better himself. He's the only character in that whole movie that tries to do that.
Wow.
You know, and that's why he comes off as the hero. Now, obviously, he fails. The movie was made for girls. You know, girls get things done better than guys do, right? But well, you can watch my review on it if you want the in-depth analysis.
Yeah, no,
but
definitely.
Obviously, Ken is the one that you sympathize with the most in the whole movie. And I was shocked. I thought this was just going to be like, you know, guy bashing the whole time. And it was. But then out of nowhere, all of a sudden, like you felt sorry for Ken in the movie. Like you wanted him to actually take over Barbie Land, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't think that was the filmmaker's intention. You know, their intention was to make Ken the bad guy. Yeah. And he came across as the good guy. Like Barbie came across as the bad guy.
Yeah. Funny how things work out, you know? Yeah. It's like, and I don't find that girl the Barbie type. Like her
Margot
eyes.
Robbie?
Yeah, her eyes.
She's pretty, but you know, she's not. You know, I wouldn't go to war with Troy over her. Or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. She, you know, and yeah, I'm not saying she's bad looking. You know,
it's Harley Quinn.
Yeah, you know, but Barbie, I would think would have smaller eyes and you know, not as wide as a mouth. You know, I mean, kind of closer to I do see chicks that have that. You know, maybe the doll kind of look. You know.
Yeah.
And but they pick her, I guess, you know, because of that Hollywood thing.
Well, because of her fame, you know. I mean, she's a leading lady right now. She's hot right now. Like with actresses and actors too, they go through like 3 years of when they're really hot and they just show up in everything. Yeah. You know. But then if none of those movies are hits, then they go back to being like on a TV show or something. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't even really. I used to get into some of the old superhero, but now it's just
like right now, like Pedro Pascal right now is in everything, dude. He's in fucking Last of Us. He's in The Mandalorian. He's in the Fantastic Four movie. He's in fucking. We was in Wonder Woman. You know, I mean, he's just fucking everywhere, dude. Like there's way too much Pedro Pascal. He's in Gladiator, the new Gladiator movie. I mean, he's just oversaturated. You know,
whenever I see somebody like that, I know they're straight on the, you know, they had to do the deed or whatever it is that, you know, these guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pedro Pascal. Yeah, does he act like the kind of guy that would take it up the ass for an acting job? Absolutely. Oh yeah. He doesn't even come across as masculine, like in interviews and stuff. You know, not at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
Another like Rachel Zegler, she was hot for the past couple of years. She was in the West Side Story remake that Steven Spielberg did. She was the lead in that. She played the Juliet character in that. She was in the Hunger Games movie, the one that came out 2 years ago. She was in the Shazam movie, the Fury of the Gods, you know, and then she just recently starred in Snow White, okay, where she tanked. She tanked that movie. So now she's done. It's like Hollywood has kicked her out now.
Yeah. Exactly.
But she was hot for a good 3-4 years. She was hot. She was everywhere.
I think she said something and then that just destroyed
she said a lot of things. She told all Trump supporters, you know, don't see her movies. I don't need your business. Trump won the election, you dumbass.
Yeah, she's a total dumbass. It's like, what the heck? It's like, what are you bringing politics into this? She's going.
You remember when I said earlier about that side, the liberals, they have the microphone.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. They have the microphone. Okay. But that doesn't mean they have the power, because the election taught us it was the people that don't have the microphone are the ones that won the election.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So now they realized that, oh my God, these people were just lying. They were telling you that they were the cool kids and they weren't the cool kids at all.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. New York is blue as fuck. I didn't
even. Yeah. So Chicago. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, I was like, man, I mean, and there's a lot of Republican here.
I feel sorry for your city, honestly. I know about what's going on over there with the Tren de Aragua and the migrant crisis and all that crap. And the hotels, they're all staying in your hotels.
It's so fucked up.
I see the videos. I see people getting pushed on the subway, you know? Yeah. I see people getting punched. You know, they punched Rick Moranis in the face.
Yep.
You know, he was walking down the street.
Yeah,
the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids guy, man. He was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
SCTV, they just punched him in the face.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's almost to the point of tyranny, man. It's just, when I look at some of the stuff that's happening, it's like the stores, just the looting, I can't even believe it's happening.
What is it, like $1,000? If it's less than $1,000, they don't go to jail.
They don't do nothing. And then they take it and they'll be selling it on like a street, on a certain, and I'm like, what the and now I think the cops, you know, with the changing of the guard, basically, with, you know, the president.
Well, you had that one guy that tried to help someone on the subway. Okay, Daniel Penny, and look what they did to him. They crucified him.
Exactly. Yep.
And he was just trying to help an innocent bystander. I mean, luckily he was acquitted, but still, he was in jail for a year. A year of living hell.
That's crazy. That
is
crazy.
And you wonder why nobody wants to help anybody when they see a crime happening.
Exactly.
That's why, because they don't want to go to jail for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day. Cops in New York were getting beat the fuck up by Tren de Aragua.
Yeah.
And all these civilians were there watching it and no one did anything.
Yeah. It's freaking crazy.
They just took out their phones and filmed it all.
Yep. It's zombie. You know, that's why I call the channel now American Zombie. It's just, it's everywhere. And, you know, Rikers Island is, as far as I checked a few years ago, supposedly Rikers Island, they closed the prison in Russia. Rikers Island is the biggest jail, I think, in the world. It's a freaking island with like 12,000 capacity. And it's like, and then they got this big barge in the middle. You know, it's just like, what?
You guys got Sing Sing also. Sing Sing.
Yeah, that's prison upstate. All these, I mean, New York State has like 60 something prisons. I mean, it used to be like 70 something until Elliot Spitzer was closing a few. And then next thing you know, bang, he gets caught in a prostitution thing. And the killer was, when I saw the chick that he was paying 12 grand a night for, brutal. This chick was like a 5.5 or a 6. Now she's just I mean, it's beyond. It's like, what the money?
Well, come on, man. Look at Bill Clinton, man. When he was president, I mean, look at Monica Lewinsky, dude. Come on, dude.
Brutal. Yeah,
you're gonna cheat on your wife. Come on.
Yeah. At least. Oh, you know who takes the cake with the ugly cheating on the wife is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Did you see the maid?
That maid is dog ugly. She was married. She was married.
Oh man,
her husband thought that was his son.
Yeah, that was. That shit is so funny. She was Goblin from Lord of the Rings. I mean,
worse. She looked like an ogre, man.
Yeah,
She looked like one of those trolls, with the beard and all that.
Exactly. I'm like, what could possess? I'm like, how the fuck? I think Maria.
He said he only did it once. I read his autobiography. He said he only fucked her once.
oh my goodness. Holy shit. Part of me says Maria Shriver's like, look, I wouldn't have divorced you, but if she was so goddamn ugly, she's like, I can't stay with you.
God. If you're gonna cheat on Maria Shriver, you should have cheated on her with like young Jamie Lee Curtis from True Lies or something, Remember that dance she did for him in that movie?
I mean, she's kind of,
she looks like crap now. She's disgusting now.
I think she was born a hermaphrodite. I don't know if that's true.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah,
I thought she was always attractive. I mean, she looks like crap now, and she's a nepo baby. The only reason she became an actress because her parents were movie stars. She had a rich, privileged life, just like Jane Fonda. Okay, just like Bryce Dallas Howard, just like a lot of these fucking actors that you see that Hollywood praises. The only reason they're fucking there is because of who their parents are. Yeah. Okay, even Robert Downey Jr., fucking Gwyneth Paltrow, all of them had fucking famous parents.
Yep.
Nepotism,
man. Nepotism.
So, that's all Hollywood is. It's who you know. Who do you know?
Sean Penn's mother was some actress, like low-level actress, but they're all nepotism. It's like they don't get in there on their own accord.
Yeah.
And I told my friend, I said, do you really think Robert De Niro and Al Pacino got there? They can act. I'm not saying they can't act, but they're not letting guys in. Wow, Mr. Super Sidewinder says Jamie Lee Curtis, 3 male names. Wow, I got to look into that. I'm definitely going to look into that. I didn't put the link together when I thought about it, but Tony Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't think
her mom is Vivian Lee. Vivian Lee was the girl that got stabbed in Psycho in the shower. That was her mom.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I think Tony Curtis's last name was actually Schwartz.
He was Jewish. Yeah, a lot of Hollywood is Jewish. Okay, but if you look at the cast of characters and everyone's got a Jewish name, it's going to start to look a little bit like they're only hiring Jewish people. So they change their names. They give themselves stage names. Okay, because all of Hollywood was started by Jews. Okay, all the original studios were created by Jews. They started all of Hollywood. The only studio that was not started by a Jew was RKO, that was owned by Howard Hughes. Okay, but all of the studios, MGM, Universal, Warner Brothers, Columbia Pictures, all of them were Jewish.
What about Walt Disney? He wasn't Jewish.
He wasn't Jewish, but he was animation. He didn't do live action until like the 50s.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, definitely. When I think of the nepotism going into even from, it's like when I found out Sean Penn's mom was, I forgot her name, but it was some actress. She was a blonde chick. And then his brother died young, and it makes me wonder.
Funny guy. He was in Footloose. His brother was in Footloose.
Yes.
Chris Penn. He was also in Reservoir Dogs. He was in a lot of things.
Kevin Bacon's probably got some nepotism there. I don't think.
I don't know about that. I mean, I know he's married to Kyra Sedgwick, but he's just been around a long time, dude. He's just been.
I mean, Footloose, that was what 80s.
I remember, do you remember a movie called I think it was called Some Kind of Hero? It was with John Ritter from Three's Company, where he wears a superhero costume and fights crime.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Kevin Bacon had a small part in that. He was in that movie.
Wow, John Ritter was a real funny guy, man.
I watch Three's Company with my son all the time. I have a 9-year-old, and we watch because that's the stuff that I watched when I was a little boy. Was Three's Company. That show was hilarious. Oh yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it now. I mean, nobody cares if a guy lives with 2 girls today.
Yeah, it's just normal, and I mean, Suzanne Summers lived to she was busy, man. Yeah, she definitely. And then they had, the replacements, her cousin.
Yeah, Cindy, her cousin Cindy. That was Jenny Lee Harrison. And then they replaced her with Terry. And I forgot her name.
I forgot Terry's name. I think Capital J texted me. She said Janet Leigh, I guess, is her mom. I think that was.
Janet Leigh. Yeah, I said Vivian Leigh, didn't I? I'm sorry. Vivian Leigh was from something else. Or was it? Was it? No, Janet Leigh was from Gone with the Wind. No, Vivian Leigh was Gone with the Wind. Sorry, Janet Leigh was Psycho. My bad.
Mercachu says Jamie Lee Curtis has XY chromosomes but lacks the stride gene, so the testes never descended and the vagina developed to developmental default as female. Yeah, they don't. they in certain operations, and I've seen this in I had videos on that where it looks like ovaries, but it's like testes and a vagina, and the doctors make the decision at birth.
Really?
And I remember hearing that.
That's sad, man. Because I remember that dance she did in True Lies. Remember? And do you remember her in Trading Places?
I remember Trading Places.
Oh,
yeah.
she looked incredible in that. Oh. Now you're ruining my puberty memories.
No, this channel is all based on truth, so we just, I mean, and it is what it is. It's not saying.
Well, I know a lot. I think you might like me as a guest. I know a lot about what's really going on in Hollywood. Okay.
Yeah. Okachu says DHT is what triggers development of the male reproductive tract. Wow, DHT knows. You know a lot about the medical too. Has testes that are internal. A. Patterson says they will never show those gay phobic Mr. Furley scenes on reruns of the Three's Company. These really.
Well, you mentioned earlier All in the Family, man. Oh, that stuff would never air today.
Never. Yeah. Never. Yeah.
I watched that stuff because you can still watch the episode. I bought it on DVD. So they didn't edit anything. Okay. Yeah. So whenever I hear a word that I haven't heard on TV in 30 years or something, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was going to sit there watching this with my son, but this is the same stuff that I watched. I heard those words as a little boy. It was on regular TV.
Yeah. Exactly. Some of the stuff from the 70s. I mean, All in the Family had some great episodes. They showed Archie, with the what they would call today as homophobic. It's like,
he's everything, but you also got to remember Archie. I think the reason the show worked is obviously Norman Lear and everyone else is liberal. Okay. They're all libtards. Okay. They're all pointing to progressive stuff even back then. But Archie, well, yes, he's racist. Okay. Yes, he's homophobic. He's all those things. But you also got to remember, he's also kind of an idiot. Okay. He's very naive.
Unintentional.
He mispronounces words all the goddamn time.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. But at the same time, you also got to remember something about Archie. Okay. He loved his wife very much.
Yes.
Okay. He also was a World War II veteran.
Exactly.
Okay. He fought. He saw combat.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. And he was the only motherfucker in that entire house that was actually working and paying the fucking bills.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. His son-in-law was mooching off of him, and then lecturing him about what a piece of shit he was, while he was living off of him rent fucking free and eating there for fucking free.
Exactly.
And that didn't go unnoticed on the show. So you had the Republicans that were rooting for Archie, and you had the liberals that were rooting for Michael and Gloria.
Yep.
So that's how you got in the audience. The same thing happened with Family Ties. Family Ties was a liberal show. And then you had Michael J. Fox out. So he was the one Republican. He was the diehard Republican, and yet he stole the show. Everybody loved him, even though he went against what the producers' values were.
Exactly. And it's amazing when you think about it. It's an ingenious ploy to have the liberal and Republican thing on the show, because you catch both audiences.
Yeah. Good, but you also got on Family Ties. Remember, the parents were supposed to be the main characters. They were hippies.
Yes.
They were hippies that became yuppies.
Yes.
And instead, their son took over the whole show.
He did. Yeah. Sister that was a big chick. The sister. Yeah. It was like, damn, Justine or some Bateman.
Justine Bateman, yeah. But Meredith Baxter Burney was the mom on the show, and she was the biggest name on that show. Everyone else was an unknown. Mm-hmm. She was the biggest name on it because she was on some other TV shows in the past. Before she became a lesbian and all that. She was on a show called Family, which was in the 70s. She played the oldest daughter on that show, and her dad on that show was played by Matthew Broderick's dad, real life dad, and Chrissy McNichol was like the youngest daughter on that show. Before she became a lesbian too.
Oh man, something in the water, man. Something in the water.
It just that industry just attracts those type of people. That's all it is. It's like hairstylists, a gay hairstylist. That industry just attracts those type of people.
Yeah,
it's a cliche, but it's true. There's a reason it's cliche.
Yeah, it is. There was a guy, he would cut hair, excellent. Men's hair, and you'd think he was straight. And I remember he would say, I'm a beautician, instead of a barber,
Well, now the term is esthetician. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I
dated a girl who's an esthetician, so that's what they call it now.
I thought isn't that the one that removed the hair and stuff like that?
Yeah, they give you the Brazilian and all that.
Yeah. Because I had a chick, she told me, she went and they, what's it, style.
She didn't give me a Brazilian, but she had.
Holy shit. You are definitely an expert, man, with the movies and the sitcoms. I mean,
I've lived a lot of life. I really have, I mean, other than my time in the Marine Corps, I've done a lot of things, so I try to I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of experiences, I try to pass some of that along. I'm a single father, so I raised my son by myself. His mother passed away back in 2019. So I take care of my son by myself, and a lot of the stuff that I talk about, these are things that I wish my father had told me.
yeah.
I was raised by a single mom. So I made a lot of these mistakes. These simping culture that your friends were talking about earlier, I've done those things.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't work, but I had to learn the hard way. I had to get burned.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think about dinners I went out to, and then chicks I banged without even having to buy a burger or a fry.
How many times has she cried on my shoulder and then go back to that guy?
Yeah, and it's
I made all those mistakes.
Yeah, A. Patterson says that show Soap in the late '70s had an all-star cast. Yeah, I never really
a TV star. I mean, Billy Crystal was the first gay character on a TV show, openly gay character on a TV show. That was on Soap.
Yeah, I never watched.
There was a spin-off of that show, Benson. That was the Robert Goulet. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one. I watched that a little bit with the governor. He was like
the idiot governor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they really the male, portrayed, in a way that. But yeah, man, this is a great conversation with you, bro. I'm so glad to meet you, and
yeah, you too.
Yeah, anytime you want to collaborate or
absolutely
videos, man. Yeah,
yeah.
My friend, she was telling me, she goes, check them out. I got through about half of Devil Wears Prada, and then I skimmed through some of the others, because I figured, I couldn't watch that much before.
Yeah. So a lot of my viewers, they listen to it like in their headphones and stuff while they're jogging or walking or doing something like that, or driving their car,
Yeah.
Because I talk about like the movies that they love so much. Oh my God, that movie was so great. And then I blow that movie apart, for them, and I help them see it from a different point of view, from a man's point of view, because, it doesn't matter how much you want to believe that fairy tale bullshit that these movies give you, these chick flicks give you. Okay. The bottom line is that's not the way the world is once you walk out that door. Okay. Men don't act that way once you walk out that door. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're not like that. Okay. We actually have a backbone. Most of us have a backbone.
Yes.
Okay. And most of us are intelligent, and most of us, are brave, so, we don't let women push us around like they do in the movies and stuff. Yeah. I think women get shocked at that.
Yeah.
They get shocked that when they try the shit that the girls do in the TV shows, they try to do it to a man in real life. And he's like, no, no, I don't think so. And they're like, what? You must be a misogynist then. See what I mean? And no, that's just a guy being a guy.
Yeah. No,
and I think we need that. We need men to act like men, for Christ's sake, dude, because they're not doing it. They're not going to college anymore. They're living at home. They're playing their goddamn video games. They're addicted to porn.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going out and talking to girls because they're afraid they're going to get accused of sexual harassment or something.
Yeah.
Look at every HR department and every fucking corporation in the United States is run by women.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't tell me there's not a bias out there. The family courts are all for the women.
Exactly.
Nothing for the men.
No, absolutely, man. And I would always say it begins in school. All we see is women from kindergarten.
The education, all the teachers are women.
Women, yeah, and that's not healthy for a young boy growing into a man.
The reason for that is because what happens when a guy becomes a teacher? What's the first thing you think about? Okay, and men know this. That's why they don't go into that profession.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. The accusation. Yeah. Exactly.
Unless they're a coach or something, they're not going to teach kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
All it takes is one student to cry wolf, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Exactly. And then his whole career, it's done. It's never
whole career. Yeah.
That's what they don't realize. It is so damaging. Even
if you actually watch the news, it's the women that are abusing the kids.
The amount of
record numbers, and nobody's making a movie about that. Yeah. Nobody's talking about that. You never hear that on the fucking View.
Yeah. Who was that one? Mary Kay Letourneau, right?
Yeah, she was like the first famous one. That was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Fucking her 12-year-old student.
Yeah, did time afterwards.
Yeah, and then she married him.
And it's crazy.
But she's dead now. She's dead now, but
oh really? She passed?
Yeah, she died a few years ago. Yeah, she had cancer or something. Yeah.
Holy smokes!
But she always defended it. She never considered herself a pedophile. She never said that wasn't, even though she was married and had like 3 kids when she was doing it, when she was sleeping with a 12-year-old student.
Oh, there was one that brought 3 kids over for dinner. Now she's married with 2 kids.
They're all married.
Yeah,
All
and
these women are married and have
ends up
kids.
banging, and one of the guys film it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Imagine the husband with the 2 kids, how he felt. You know, like his wife is banging 3 high schoolers at the same time in his house. I mean, I could see the shame on his face when he was leaving with his 2 children.
Yeah.
But Azroon is from India, and he had a few questions. Azroon, this is Diego knows. Diego knows Azroon.
How you doing?
Yeah, Azroon, are you there? Azroon. I don't know if it's
Yeah, I'm
Mike.
here. I'm here. You know,
There
I
it
just
is.
want to
All
make a
right.
comment about earlier when you're talking about the media and how it's controlled by certain groups and the nepotism. But let's not forget the people who are at fault at the end of the day are the zombies who just buy into this crap. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They know their audience. They know there's a group of idiots out there. We're the few that are enlightened that can
Yeah.
see through the BS. But
A lot of people
to
want
make
someone else to do the thinking for them. That's the truth.
100% right there. And they just buy it hook, line, and sinker. So I got to give them credit. They know their audience. They know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't take much effort to do your own research, but why do that when someone that you like on TV tells you this is what the way it is, and you just go with it?
You know
yeah,
what's
Okay,
sad is
they
when I hear people.
must have done their research, so I'm going to believe them.
Well,
yeah,
you know what's really sad is when I hear people talking about history and it's bullshit history. It's what they saw in a movie, which is
Yeah,
a total propaganda. It's
exactly.
never,
Yeah,
they rewrite history in movies all the time for an agenda. They don't tell
yeah.
you the
Like
real
the
history.
woman king, the woman king,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Viola Davis. Yeah,
Hmm.
Wow.
she played this. She had this badass female warrior. She led a tribe of African women that all beat the crap out of the French colonizers in Africa. In real life, her tribe, the Dahomies, what they were called, they were the actual slave traders in real
Yeah.
life, but they were the slave
Yeah.
liberators in the movie.
They don't like to talk about that. They do not like to, and that's so true. Capital
It was written by the movie was written by a white girl named Maria Bello. Okay,
Total fantasy.
yeah,
Total fantasy.
who was a lesbian, by the way.
Mhm.
My friend was telling me, she said to mention that I had phrased something a while ago about, especially with the schooling, with the women inundating with these young boys. Only a man can take a boy into manhood. A woman cannot do that. You
Yeah,
know?
the women don't know. We have a huge crisis of single moms,
Yeah.
and no matter how much moms are, how much they love their kids, no mom can teach a boy how to become a man because they've never done it themselves.
Absolutely, man.
Okay, it's the truth.
Yeah, it is, man. As Varun, is your mic working? Can you hear us?
It's working now.
Okay, you might have to speak up a little louder. What did you want to ask Diego?
Diego, hello.
You got to speak up.
yeah.
It's muffled. It's muffled.
Can you hear me now, MD?
I can hear you enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello. You're very knowledgeable. So I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Everyone says that after World War II, like the liberal world order was established, and they tried to remove the idea of nation statehood. Many conservative ideas were removed in favor of a globalized world and a liberal world order. But the way things are going now, the way liberals promote all kinds of degenerate activities, even it's there in my country too. And conservatives, I've noticed they have more children, they're more family oriented. See, the liberals aren't having many children, or they're
That's
having
right.
none at all. So,
That's right.
like, do you think they'll be outbred by conservatives and we'll go back to the idea of nation states, more conservative ideals in maybe another 50 years?
Well, the conservatives are the only ones that are having kids. Okay, the liberals are all about abortion. They're all about the day after pill. So yeah, they're actually extinguishing themselves. So eventually the conservatives are going to take over. The liberals are all about the free sex with no consequences.
Yeah.
But it's true. As far as the world taking over, after World War II is when the IMF and the World Bank got started. That's the International Monetary Fund. Okay. And it was the Marshall Plan by General Marshall. He decided that to rebuild Europe, because they needed money, they were broke, to give all these countries loans that they'll eventually have to pay back. And that's what started the IMF and the World Bank. And that's how globalization got started. And that's how all these countries owe us money. Okay, that's how we make our money. We loan them all this stuff. We tell them, okay, you go by our rules or else you're not going to get $400 million. They need the money, so they'll do it. And next thing you know, we got factories showing up everywhere, okay, where they can pay their employees 5 cents an hour. That's where all that happened from.
But can I dispute you on that one, Diego? Because I think the people who run the money supply aren't people we vote for. So we're
No,
not
no, it's
included
run
in the
by the
mix.
investment firms. It's run by Goldman and Sachs, by Lehman
Yeah.
Brothers.
And we
Okay,
don't vote for them.
BlackRock,
We have no power over them. They
Vanguard.
run the world. They really
Yeah,
run the world.
the Rothschild family.
Yeah.
They own all the banks in the world. There's only one country that does not have a bank with Rothschild, and that's Iraq.
What a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hungary too. Hungary is not.
Yeah.
It's like maybe very few countries.
Yeah, but the Rothschild family owns all the banks in the world.
Right.
You know,
whoever controls the money supply really runs the world. Not
Yeah.
who we vote for.
And I
Who
don't
we
want to
vote for
say
is
it, but this is YouTube. I don't want
Yeah.
there's things you can't say.
Yeah. I've had a few videos taken down. Went a little, but everything after so many months, the strike goes away. But they have gotten a little crazy. But this was great, bro. I mean, you're extremely knowledgeable. I mean, on more than just the movies, man. That's
very knowledgeable. Very.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is
Thank
as
you,
room.
Diego.
Yeah, I don't know what's your
Thanks
mic
to
is
Diego.
lower than normal, but we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Definitely, I
man.
subscribe to the channel. I'll be checking out your videos, Diego.
Oh,
They're
thank you.
full of
I try to
knowledge.
get the
I'm
straight
really
man's
looking
point of view, so I know that probably the things I say offends a lot of women, but it's the stuff they need to hear. I talk about these chick flicks the way I would talk to a guy about the chick flicks.
Yeah.
Just to watch these movies. That's the problem with me. I'm not interested in these chick flicks.
Well, the only reason I got into a lot of the movies I reviewed, I never watched them before. But the reason I got into it was because so many women I've dated love these movies and they talk about them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, why? Have you ever wondered sometimes why are women so fucked up about stuff?
Yeah.
And then you watch their movies and oh my God, no wonder she saw Pretty Woman. No wonder she thinks that.
Exactly.
Yep.
The hooker gets a billionaire, right? It's like
a billionaire falls in love with. Oh my! Not only he's good looking, he's straight. He's got no kids, no diseases. He's not married. What the fuck?
Yeah, just doesn't.
He falls in love with a fucking street hooker.
Yeah, and like
street
in real
hooker,
life,
I know.
Yeah, wasn't Richard Gere caught with a gerbil or some shit in real life?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he was with what's her name? That famous model. Cindy Crawford. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dustin Hoffman too. Matter of fact, he was in New York City. They had to call the ambulance. I had a friend that worked for the ambulance, right?
Yeah.
And he asked me one day, he goes, "What do you think is the most call every day?" I said, "I don't know, murder." He goes, "No." He goes, "We have a special tube." He goes, "that we have to go around and pull gerbils out of guys' asses." And he goes, he wanted to make a parody and put a magnetic sticker called like ambulance ass rescue or something, because it was so And I was like, "You got to be kidding me." And he goes, "Listen, bro," he goes, "you don't understand the amount of calls we go on." Yeah. He goes, "And it's because of something where he goes, they changed the law because they said it got so bad to where you had to have ID to buy a gerbil because they were buying these." And I'm like, what type of world? And this is
right.
decades,
Yeah.
But D, we laugh about that. But the fact that it's so widespread as straight heterosexual males, we got to be aware of it too. We got some really disturbed people out here. And think about, we can't even fathom putting a gerbil or an animal inside our rectum. But other people do. They don't think like us. They think on a whole different wavelengths.
Because these celebrities, they're overpaid pretenders. Okay, they're overpaid pretenders. They're surrounded by an entourage of people that tell them yes to everything. They never get told no about anything. Okay, because the people that hang out with them, they all want access to that person. And so they're going to cater to whatever the hell they want. They're going to pander to them, no matter whatever they want.
They got the mic.
Yeah, they got nobody to tell them no.
Yeah, they got the microphone.
Yeah.
Mr. Superstar.
And they're the ones that are going to tell you how to be a good person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't even have no idea of what a good person is. They've been so indoctrinated, especially.
Yeah, but they play one in the movies though.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, man, plays nice guys in all of his movies. The fucker went to Epstein Island, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he's straight Epstein private guest.
Yeah.
It's so sad when you think about that. And the fact that nothing, it went away. The zombies.
Kamala Harris went to those white parties that P. Diddy had. Okay.
Yep. Exactly, man.
They released a list. They released a list a couple days ago.
Oh wow! Oh, Finally, it came. Wow.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Leo DiCaprio's on there. Lindsay Lohan's on there. Shaquille O'Neal is on there. Yeah.
Mark says, "Can I
hope
see
they
your
expose
gerbil
everything. I
ID?"
really do.
Mike Myers.
I really do.
Wow.
Bring down
The
Hollywood. I wish they would. Bring down Hollywood. Let it be destroyed.
Yeah, it needs to be destroyed. They're not making money anymore. All their movies are flopping right now. All they got is woke shit that nobody wants to watch. They're bankrupting themselves, you know, and they're losing their audience. Okay, Disney just announced they're going to open up a Disney World in Abu Dhabi. Okay,
I heard that.
Disney was all about the gays. They're all about pride, right? But they're going to open up a Disney World in a country that beheads homosexuals.
Yeah.
Okay.
It defies logic, you know, when you think about it. Just, and then people are sitting there, they don't even see it, and it's just like, you know. And Mr. Super Sidewinder said, "Hey, can you drop Diego's link, Max? This is it right here. A Patterson, thank you for putting that in there, man." And then we got, you know, Mark is hilarious. He says, "Can I see your gerbil ID?" You know, when you go to it, imagine that you go, and you know what the killer was? The people that brought the heat on it wasn't even anybody saying, "Look, man, why are you doing this to these?" You know, putting them up there. It was like the animal rights activists that was saying, "Oh, they're declawing these gerbils so they don't scratch the inside of the colons of."
Yeah, it was PETA that did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like you talk about a level of just insanity, and it just Chris Rock, you know, he made a good point where he said that, you know, men seem to be the only person that's not, the love is conditional on the condition that we are just basically either a workhorse. They'll love a dog, a cat, you know, children and women, of course, you know, and I agree. Yeah, love children and women. But remember the man, you know, it's the base of it, you know, a man, yes, he's needed to walk the boy into manhood. Even a man being present with the daughter around changes the whole demeanor of the daughter.
Yeah,
because she sees that, you know, and it just, when I think about it, it is kind of like a war on of masculinity. Mr. Suicide wants to say,
there's been a war on it forever for you know, since before we were born.
Question before he hops off. I want to ask him one more question.
Yeah.
No, okay, Diego, what's your opinion on the movie Eyes Wide Shut? Because it seemed like he was trying to expose everything that we're talking about, the nepotism.
Well, I mean, is it a coincidence that Stanley Kubrick died while making that movie?
Yeah, I was about to make that point too.
Okay, and what was the movie about? I mean, the movie was about Tom Cruise and his real life wife at the time, Nicole Kidman, and she admits to him that she had a fantasy about fucking a naval officer. Get it? Because he was in Top Gun. Get it? And so because he cannot handle the fact that his wife is having fantasies about fucking another guy, so he decides just to go out one night, you know, and just walk around the city by himself. And he happens to fall into this like sex cult.
But didn't Epstein Island, and now of course P. Diddy's parties, it all came after the movie. You notice that? It's like this movie was basically foreshadowing what was going to happen.
It's been around for a while. I mean, like there's a lot of like Satanism and stuff in Hollywood. They have orgies, they have all this kind of stuff. There's a movie called Babylon that came out a few years ago. It's about Hollywood, like in the golden age, like in the 1930s and stuff. Margot Robbie is in it and stuff. You know, I think Brad Pitt is in it too. It's about all the sex orgies and stuff that were going on at that time during the silent film era and stuff. You know, it was real wild back then too. It was.
Well, yeah. It's just now
Hollywood's always been that way. It's always been a big fucking orgy, dude. I mean, people that have gotten busted, you know, I've read a lot about this stuff, about the orgies and the sex groups that were going on, you know, and the cover-ups, you know. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Kubrick did mention the religion. Oh, sorry, go ahead, MD.
Yeah, it's nothing new.
No, Kubrick did mention the religious aspect of it. It wasn't just sex. It was also, there was, like you said, probably some satanic worship going on. Of
course.
Too.
Yeah. There's a movie you need to watch. It came out last year. It's called Late Night with the Devil. Okay. It takes place in the 1970s. It's about this guy. He has a talk show. He's trying to compete with Johnny Carson. And he basically made a deal with a cult to boost his ratings. And they get like some Linda Blair ripoff there, who's this little girl's possessed, and her handler's there, and all this crazy stuff happens. Okay, but it's Hollywood. It's about like some of the cults that go on in there. It's a fictional movie, obviously. But it's called Late Night with the Devil. It came out last year. It's a low budget horror movie. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
You know Anton LaVey?
Of course, the founder of the Church of Satan. Yeah.
You can see Sammy Davis Jr., all Hollywood actors.
Marilyn Monroe was there. So was Jane Mansfield. Yeah, they're all part of this group.
Yeah, in the hotel.
And you know what?
In
He started off
California.
as a photographer in San Francisco, as a crime photographer.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden he got this idea to start his own satanic cult.
Yeah, but he had all Hollywood, all the musicians came to
Yeah,
him.
a lot of them did. Yeah, Richard Ramirez came to him, the serial killer.
Wow, a serial
Yeah.
killer too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, dude, the people in his Rolodex would astound you. Okay.
Holy smokes! I didn't know
Oh yeah.
that. And,
Anton LaVey,
Mansfield,
Church of Satan. Absolutely. That
didn't
guy.
you-
Mhm.
Mansfield died in a car accident or something, right?
Yeah. Decapitated in a car accident.
Oh, sounds like some type of sacrifice, or something.
No, she was in an accident. She was in an accident. But her daughter was in the back seat. Her daughter survived. And her daughter is Mariska Haggerty, who is the star of that show, Law and Order.
Wow. You know what's weird with a lot of music groups? Rolling Stones, one of the guys died. Beatles, I think there was a member.
John Lennon was assassinated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, him. The Led Zeppelin, John Bonham. It's like it's as if it's a sacrifice, like of one member. Like No Doubt, there was a guy that was part of their group, and he would always say No Doubt, and that's how they got the name. And he died before they got the deal.
No, Brian Wilson was the drummer for the Beach Boys, and he died.
Wow.
Drugs, and he fell in the water, and he couldn't swim. He was high.
It's as if they got to give up a person. I think they had a movie about that. I forgot the name of it.
Well, that's what I was telling you. That movie I told you, Laying Out with the Devil, it deals with that. It deals with that sacrifice.
Yeah, I had seen that one, and it ends with like her channeling some possession onto the stage, and it just ends like where shit hits the fan, basically.
Yeah, you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I watched
great,
it. And, I was it was okay. I thought it would have been a little different, but it kind of it left it like it was kind of like I felt like it didn't end it, like in a great way. But it was like, okay, they showed the spectacle. She did the Linda Blair. That's a good reference to that.
But the movie fucks with you because remember you had that magician on there too. He also did a similar thing, and his was an illusion.
Yeah, the guy that was trying to debunk her got messed up bad. Yeah. It just went straight exorcism on him.
But remember that Linda Blair girl looked at the host and was like, I remember you. I met you in the trees.
Yes.
Because he never admits that he went to the cult.
Yeah.
He never says it in there. I went to a cult and I did a sacrifice so that I could boost my ratings. He never says that. But then you realize, oh my God, he sacrificed his wife so that he could get his ratings up. Oh.
Yeah. They really, it was actually, it has a lot of little things in it if you look for it. Yeah. Late Night with the Devil. It definitely, that was a pretty good one of recent. Any other recent ones that are pretty good or?
There's always good stuff out there, honestly, man, the best movie I've seen recently, it's weird. It's an old movie. It's Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston. I had never seen that before until 2 months ago. I took my son to go see it because they were playing it at this old theater here. And oh my God, I cried during that movie. It's 3 hours long. It's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Ben-Hur, and it came out in 1958.
Wow.
Oh my God. The fact that I've never seen that before, and it was so better than anything today.
I didn't really. It was a long ass movie, right? Like 3 hours.
But it's not boring. It's got an intermission in the middle of it, so you can use the bathroom and stuff. But
I think I was kind of young, so I don't really remember everything. But I remember the race when they were racing.
The chariot race,
I remember that. Timbo says they named the Mansfield bar after her. The thing on the back of truck trailers. Oh, I didn't know that. Really? So that's how she got decapitated, from the bar on the back of the truck.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy smokes. And Kasparov's good to see you. He says Alamo Square looks like a face of an owl from space. And LaVey's office was at an office building owned by Freemasons.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a connection there too.
I didn't know who did that.
Hey, I'm going to admit to something here. When I was younger, when I was 19 years old, I actually joined the Church of Satan myself.
Get out of here!
I did. I read the Satanic Bible. I was living in Chicago, and when I joined the Marines, on my dog tags, I put down as my religion Satanism.
Really?
I did. And then I got rid of it. Yeah, I tried that for about 3 years, and then I gave up on it.
Why'd you give up?
Well, I never participated in the rituals, like they show you how to do the black mask. I never got into that. I was more into the philosophy behind it, that there's good and evil in everybody. You can't know what love is unless you know what hate is.
Exactly.
That kind of a thing. And they talked about that. Like greedy is evil. Being greedy is evil. But if there's no greed, you're never going to want to do anything with your life. So how can that be evil? You see what I mean? Like that whole philosophy. You ever see like Star Wars Revenge of the Sith? They re-released it recently, so I went to go see it again. There's a scene in there where Palpatine, the Emperor, he tells Anakin, that like, you only have a very narrow view of the Force. I can teach you the other half that the Jedi won't, you know what I mean? And that's what Satanism is. It's like, okay, well, you know about what God wants you, but you don't know what Satan wants from you. Okay, how are you going to know everything if you only know half of it? You see what I mean? That's how Satanism gets you. That's how they recruit you.
Yeah, there's definitely higher levels. I mean, you probably just got basically just scratching the surface, nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I was into the philosophy. I was very depressed at that time. I was in the military. Actually, when I was in the military is when I decided to get rid of it because I saw too much stuff there. And I was just like, dude, there's got to be a God. There's got to be a God,
Yeah, we talk about a lot of that on the show.
I renounced it.
Yeah, it definitely. So did you meet anybody like throughout the 3 years you were?
I did, but I never performed in any rituals or nothing like that. I never went to San Francisco to go see the original house, nothing like that. No.
And then eventually,
I just read the literature on it. I watched some TV shows about it and stuff. I kind of had to keep it secret, because otherwise the other guys, in the base with me would have fucked with me,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, you got to be pure evil to get to the top. You got to be pure evil. There's no other way around it.
Well, when you think about it, a lot of people from Orthodox religions, the basic, religions that we see, a lot of them are evil motherfuckers.
100%.
With Satanists, what they believe is that the afterlife is ruled by God. But the real life that we live in right now, that's ruled by Satan. So while you're in this world, you will obey Satan. When you die and go to heaven, that's when you obey God. That's what they believe.
Well, Satan is in charge of this world. That is true. He is the prince.
So you cater to Satan while you're here. But then when you die and go to heaven, that's when you cater to God.
And it's weird is I've heard religious people from, religions here talk about that. Like, the devil runs this world. And, so it's kind of weird that that's a similar perspective. I've heard Christians say it and Catholics, I mean, but then we've done a show on Catholicism, the Vatican, there's a building. I mean, it looks like a reptile head, like a snake head. When you go inside, it's like, holy shit, it's right in front of you. So it's like it's in disguise. And I've posted shorts on like things in nature and stuff because I've studied science a lot. And there's no way certain things can just develop by chance. There's just no freaking way. Something that you see design, whether it's a faction of beings that create, maybe there's something above that as well. Just understanding infinity, things go on forever. They can't just be this limited view of what we're told,
Exactly.
The God and Satan debate thing. It's just, I think it's very minuscule compared to infinity. And I totally see where like the yin yang symbol from the Oriental, you have a little bit of light in the darkness, a little bit of darkness in the light. There is no purity. There is no, you got to have one without the other. You can't have a sunny day without night. And then you have rain and wind. And, this is what it takes to grow plants. It's not just sunlight. And we're taught to believe some crap, to where, school just is like the first level of destruction. We should be planting stuff and learning about life. And it's basically just preparing people for the slave machine. Just to say,
I think what we've lost, what our culture has lost is how we treat each other.
Yes.
We live in a very entitled society. It's all about me. What am I going to get out of it? What are you going to provide for me? Instead of what can I do for you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're human beings. I heard you say that on your video, like, and that was a great thing. And, in New York, they would say, even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. You gotta come above this.
That's right. That's right.
And I think about it because, everybody I've ever cared about, the person I've loved the most is not here. And, I know that I'm going somewhere, I'm on my way. I don't know where, but, and that's very important when I look at ancient cultures and their philosophy of how obsessed, they try to say they were with the afterlife or what comes next. And, it's like we've talked about it on the stream many times. And it's like we're on that train heading there and nobody knows where it is. We can't even fathom it because it, the next life, when people say, oh, near death, I'm like, well, that's like being almost pregnant. You either are or you're not. The girl can't be almost pregnant. So if you're dead, we ain't going to know that. We can look at maybe some philosophy and cultures of Hades and, Hermes and stuff like that. And it kind of dawned on me, like, why does heaven have gates and hell have gates? It's like gated communities, It's like, pearly gates.
It's just men trying to interpret it, in a way that they can understand.
Yeah, exactly.
100% agree with that. What Diego just said, it's man's interpretation of heaven. It's
exactly.
not the creator's interpretation.
Yeah,
it's man's.
And when we look at it, and that lets us grow, because we look at that and we say, okay, we're men looking at this. And then we see, women, and we're like, okay, so it's man and woman. And then we have all these other things. And it's like, what the hell is this that I'm in? What is this thing called existence that, I'm here? And Alan Watts, a philosopher, used to say it. He goes, don't you find existence kind of funny, kind of odd, kind of, like, what am I in right now? What came before? What goes after? Does time even go in a linear fashion? As Varun is, from Hinduism, I've heard cyclic time. I've heard of stuff like that. And, it's as if something is trying to distract me from understanding or even contemplating where I'm going and where my loved ones are. And then when it's time for me, I don't have time to contemplate it, So it's like, I actually have a book from Wasserman, and I think it deals with some Crowley and stuff like that. It's called The Slaves Shall Serve. And he deals with, it's on my shelf here, and I haven't read the whole thing, but The Slaves Shall Serve, Meditations on Liberty by James Wasserman. And it had some stuff about like taking power into your own hands.
Yeah.
And really, it's like you feel like you haven't done anything with your life. And then you get too old by the time you realize it, because we're not, I'm not old, but I'm not young. And and I'm saying, man, I'm heading toward it. And but the thing is I'm heading toward what? And I'm thinking, what? I got 30, 40 years if I'm lucky. But it can happen tomorrow. I can walk outside. People are getting gunned down all the time in New York City.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, all right, it's not even limited to 30 more years or 40 or maybe 50.
If you're lucky, then you've got 30 years.
Exactly. It could be a day. It could, so that, I guess I look at that and it gives a little more meaning to,
I try to look at it, when I think about this stuff, I think about we're old enough to have lost people that we loved in our lives. I lost my mother many years ago, my grandparents, my uncles and stuff. I've lost lots of relatives, people that I loved a lot. And the way I like to think about it is like, wherever they went, that's where I'm going. Okay. I'm going to go where they went. So I'm going to be with them.
I contemplate that because I loved my parents dearly, still do. Everybody, it's just me. My siblings, they're in different states. They're just doing their own thing. And I'm thinking like, wow, I don't know. I don't know if, I don't know where I'm going. And not to say if I'm going to heaven or hell, but it's like you said, those are man-made in a way. And I'm saying, I think this journey might just be me. There's so much things when I contemplate, when I think about that song, row, row, row your boat, gently down the stream, merrily, because life is just a dream. And I'm like,
life is just a dream, but a dream.
Yeah. And can I make a comment on something? Because to tie into religion, I'm not trying to push any religion. That's not my stance. I'm here to promote intelligent design and a creator. But when you look at something like the Bible, and when you look at Satan, what happened in Satan when Adam and Eve was there? Satan stayed away from Adam. He tempted Eve, and we can sort of tie that into today with Sex in the City and all this media. They tempt women first. It's like that's where the evil stems from.
Because the women can tempt the men. Yeah.
Exactly. And then what did Eve do? She brought Adam down with him, said, "Oh, eat from the apple." So Eve took Adam down with her because Adam was like a simp, basically. And so we see that we can relate that to today's society, with the women and the culture that they're living in. It's turned men into simps. And
I think men have always been sort of simps, okay, to some amount.
Not to this level, not to this level. Look at OnlyFans and the amount of money some of these women are making. It's ridiculous. It's like guys are just having internet girlfriends and giving them their
to me, that's ridiculous. I understand why women are doing it. The fact that guys are doing it, spending money for a virtual girl, that's ridiculous. To me, that's ridiculous and pathetic.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah,
happening.
I know.
In Korea, they actually, I put this in Sperm Street. They have what they call 2D wives. These guys are simping for like anime 2-dimensional wives. Then you got the guys with the sex dolls, and
Turd Flinging Monkey. I think he's always talking about his sex doll.
yeah, I mean,
He's got like a robotic. He's got like a robot sex doll or something.
he had a channel for that sex doll. He had a
Yeah.
freaking channel, and then I realized he has to be in the closet because he had a strap on for the doll. And I'm like, that I started to see these guys that were trying to say all this and that. And I said, listen, man, pussy, you know, that's the most expensive meat you'll ever eat in your life. And it's great. And for a heterosexual guy, it comes to, hey, you might not be able to live with them, but you can't live without them. It's like you're gonna have that. But it comes to a point where it's like, okay, there, as you get older, you say, yeah, really, you gotta have some money and to live, basically. And I think about that. I'm just like, man, this is Adam was simping so hard that I think it was the angel Raphael that told him, like, yo, bro, what the fuck you do? It's a chick. When he saw Eve naked, you know, it was something like that in the passage. And I'm like, damn, you know, it's and we've all done it. All hetero guys, you know, have done, you know, the simping and say, man,
of course. Well, we're taught by that. We're taught by our moms to be that way, you know.
Yep.
I'll pay for the date, open the door, buy her flowers.
Yep. Put up
write her poetry, you know.
Don't call her out. Don't call her out on her bullshit. That's the biggest one. Where I'm like, I'm like, hell no.
And it's all reinforced by the fucking movies. All do that, you know. Even the movies that are meant for guys, you know, always show the man fucking simping for the girl.
Well, and they pay for it too, just like Adam paid for it. We pay, Sims pay for it too, big time. They go broke or they get miserable. They're lonely now. The girl leaves them once she's broke. You know what I mean? They pay for it too. Divorce court. Look at divorce court. What it does to men.
You're right. Yeah, it's all gynocentric. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's that saying? They say, "Don't kill yourself over a girl because she'll bring another guy to the funeral."
Yeah,
it's
right there.
The truth. It's like,
like when men cheat. You know, if you're in a situation, all right, where you've got the husband and you've got his wife there, and then you've got his mistress there. Okay, and the guy puts a gun to you and says, like, okay, you have to kill one of them. Okay, I guarantee you, the guy is going to kill the mistress. Okay, he's going to kill the mistress. You the exact same situation. You got a woman there, and she's got her husband on one side and her lover on the other side. She's going to kill her husband.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's the difference between men and women.
Yeah. No, it's definitely true.
That's the difference between how men and women cheat.
There's a thing where they say society tells women how to be. The thing is we got to figure out what they really are. Yeah. You know, and
women are dominated by their feelings. Whatever they feel like doing is what they're going to do. If it feels right, they're going to do it. If breaking up her fucking marriage, if hurting her spouse, okay, if ruining her children, if it feels right because this guy just gets her, she's going to fucking abandon everything for that guy. Because that's what feels right.
I got to get the clip. I don't know where I saved it, but this guy asks a woman, he goes, are you happy, you know, in your marriage? And she was like, yeah. And he goes, is your husband happy? And she got quiet. And she goes, why, you know, why are you asking me? He goes, well, I just want to know, to be fair. And she ended up not answering the question. And he goes, well, we already got the answer.
Yeah.
You know,
that movie, It Ends With Us, that I reviewed, It Ends With Us. There's a scene just like that in the movie.
Wow. It just, I mean, it's a sad scene because I think she ended up telling him F you. And I'm like, wait a minute. He asked you, your husband you don't even care if your husband's happy. You just care if you're happy.
Yeah.
Her husband. That's real life. That's real life.
Yeah. She asked her husband, are you happy? He's like, yes. Are you happy? And she's like, oh, well, you know, I mean, nobody's happy all the time, you know? I mean, like she just goes around the question, you know?
On the unicycle, backpedaling, juggling excuses.
Yep.
Holy shit. But man, that, you know, and that's something that hopefully younger guys will see this because I remember encountering TFS.
Younger guys are going to watch that movie. I'm the only one.
Yeah, I mean, Turd Flinging Monkey, I remember seeing him back in 2018, and I think Google banned him, man.
Yeah, I think he's done. Yeah, I think they.
there's a guy who had another website, and he goes, they won't even monetize this stuff. Like, he sees all the stuff from the back end, and he tried to, like, have like a YouTube clone site, which it didn't get big, but a lot of the guys on there, I'm just like, I can't mess with it. But
I like Sandman. Sandman's funny with his memes.
Yeah, he is too. This guy, he met Sandman in Canada. Sandman's about 5'7", 5'8" at the best. So I can understand. I mean, the guy is probably just he's just angry, And to me, I'm like, hey, aren't you gonna go out and get some, laid or something? No, it just, and he's a cool guy. I've talked to him on email and when he had his channel on YouTube, but I noticed with the same thing, the constant shit. And it's like, bro, that's when I realized I had a privilege that these guys just never understood what it was. Because when I see the way women treat men below a certain height, shit, it's freaking, It's like, and then I walk in and everything's cool. A supermarket, 15% of the men in the world, there's only 15%, maybe less, that are over 6 foot.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then out of those, you got probably half of them are gay. So that makes us even more valuable. It's like, and then out of the half that are straight, half of them, the women don't like. So it's like, it makes that taller guy, I mean, he's getting more, like they say, what is it? 80% of the women will sleep with 20% of the men.
Like 10%. Yeah.
10%. Yeah, that's more accurate.
It's 8% of the women. They're all competing for the same 10% of the guys.
They'll share a guy.
Yeah.
Instead of going with a different provider that's
right.
And then try to say, oh, well, we're all the good men, not looking for you,
They're all fighting for that one guy. Yeah. That's whenever women complain about why can't I find a guy that's just going to be faithful and treat me nice? Because you're only going for the guys that get to fuck all the girls. That's why. Exactly. Why would he? Yeah. I mean, why would he want to treat you special? Okay, when you can be easily replaced.
Yeah, and look at the Will Smith thing. Even though we know he's not straight, but Jada Smith was getting pounded out by her son's boyfriend.
Her son's friend, probably her son's boyfriend, because it turns out that guy was gay too.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell? And and who? Magic Johnson's son. Oh my god, straight Tyrannosaurus Rex, man.
I think he's a trans, isn't he?
Man, brutal.
Magic Johnson got AIDS like 35 years ago, and he's still alive.
Yeah, I think they said that they staged that because him and Michael Jordan was shaving points. So for him, it was like, okay, they're going to say he's got AIDS, all of this stuff. Jordan, I think they assassinated his father over that.
Yeah, because he owed money to the mob.
Yeah,
in Chicago, the riverboat gamblers that own all the casinos on the riverboat, he owed them money.
Yeah, so
and he wouldn't pay up. So they're like, okay, they made an example of his father.
Yeah, and then they try to play it off like, oh, just some guy. And when I just think about these stories, it's like a lot of the children, Megan Fox, all three of her sons wear dresses.
All trans, yeah. What a coincidence. Same thing with Charlize Theron.
Oh, man.
And I think three of Angelina Jolie's kids are all trans too. Yeah, what a coincidence.
Yeah, right?
They figured out they were trans at 5 years old. And so their mom just did what their children told them,
Child abuse. Straight child abuse, man. And it's child abuse, and they applaud it. Kind of like, again, with the Star Wars.
Yes. And these are the same people that get on their fucking podiums and lecture us about how to be decent human beings. They lecture us.
I've learned that any woman who gets offended at the question of how many men have you slept with has slept with too many men.
Yeah.
Straight up. It's like if they get offended at how many, it's like, you already know. She gives the answer just by her reaction.
Yeah.
And saying, so this is what, it's like, and I'm supposed to what? Sequester my masculinity to please you? It's
no. I don't think, women don't seem to understand, okay, that, if you go to a party, right? And this has happened to me before. I go to a party with a girl that I just started dating, okay? We went to a party, right? And there was like 3 guys in there that she had fucked, okay? That to a man, that's embarrassing.
Yes.
That's embarrassing. That makes me look like I'm a fucking simp. That makes me look like I'm a low value beta. Okay? Yeah. That here I am with a girl on my arm, that there's already 3 guys in the same room with me that I've already fucked her before I did.
Yeah.
It
is.
But if the difference is for a man, if you're a man, if you're a man and you go to a party, okay, and you're with a girl and there's 3 other girls in that room that you've already fucked, you're considered more valuable. The woman's going to hold on to you more.
Yep.
You see what I mean? because she knows that there's other women here that want you too, that have had you before. You see what I mean? It's the difference. That's the difference between men and women. And women don't seem to fucking get that. They seem to think they're like men.
No.
That they can have sex like men. That the more men they fuck, the more men are going to want them.
Yeah.
And they don't. You're going to get guys that want to fuck you. Absolutely. You got no problem there. You'll get guys that will pump and dump you. You're not going to get a guy who's going to put a ring on it. And if you do get a guy who's going to put a ring, it's going to be a low value man, a man you will not respect.
Yep.
Okay. That's the bottom line.
That's why I think marriage is dead. Marriage is dead. I mean,
it is dead.
Really
This
find
country, it's dead.
Girl anymore? No,
in this country, it is dead. Marriage is dead in this country, dude. It's until they change the laws, until they start doing DNA tests on babies, until they start making, get rid of this stupid ass alimony thing or put a time limit on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have to be mandatory DNA at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Child support and alimony is like $1 trillion industry in America.
Yeah.
Just get
paid. That's money trail. The divorce lawyer, that's $1 trillion industry.
Yeah. Yes. I think there's a guy, he was on Soft White Underbelly's channel and Diary of a CEO. He's a divorce lawyer, very well spoken. I don't know his name, I forgot his name, but he was saying, he goes, he got a client worth a couple $2 billion. Other guys, very high profile. He goes, you got a woman that bangs a guy for a couple of years and she's getting $250 million. Yeah. This is ridiculous, and he would wonder, he said, one guy's like 70. He goes, and it dawned on him, like, when, it's 70 years old and you're still stinking with your dick, It's
Al Pacino fathered a kid at 88 years old.
Yes.
Al Pacino fathered a kid 2 years ago at 88 years old. Okay. And she's getting like what? I think she's getting like $250,000 a month in child support from Al Pacino.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And it's like, I don't, because it shocks me because he played the whole crew, that Hollywood, circle. He played in a movie called Dog Day Afternoon, which is
played a gay guy. That's a true story.
A true story to say, he's robbing something to get his
boyfriend's sex change operation.
I'm like, what the fuck? And then the same guys are like,
that really happened. I read about the real story. That really did happen.
Yeah, I think it was in New York. Yeah, it just unfreaking believable when I think about it.
And what's funny is he did eventually get enough money for his boyfriend to get the sex change operation, and then his boyfriend left him for another guy, and then he died from AIDS.
I think didn't one of them do like 20 years or some shit? Yeah, some shit like that. Holy! And then The Godfather, you got Brando, but it was Fruit City. Freaking! It was like, what the heck is? Where are the straight men at? And they just don't. I was shocked. You taught me some stuff with Clark Gable and all of that because he. Holy shit!
It's insane. It's insane. These guys that you thought like Tyrone Power, man, that fucker played Zorro back in the 1940s. Okay, look at Errol Flynn, fucking Robin Hood himself, dude. I mean, that guy was fucking guys too. It's just ridiculous. Tyrone Power's boyfriend. Tyrone Power's boyfriend was fucking Cesar Romero, the Joker from the 1960s Batman TV show.
Holy shit! Holy shit! And the Joker from you see
from the 1960s, the Batman TV show.
Yeah, that you could see the fruits in that. It's like what the.
Oh, come on, man. Liberace did an episode, all right? Where he played a fruits in there. Van Johnson did an episode. He was fucking guys, too.
Liberace would come out with the ostrich feathers or some shit, gliding down steps or whatever to play his little piano in front of him. Barry.
He pretended to be straight in the 50s. He didn't come out until like the 70s.
Yeah. He just.
Well, like he was fooling anybody. He never fooled anybody.
Yeah. It's like, we didn't know, And I think Barry Manilow came out, a decade?
Yeah, that was obvious, man.
Yeah, he
started off with Bette Midler in those gay bathhouses in New York. Mm-hmm. Back in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
Okay, that's where like he started his career in those gay bathhouses. Him and Bette Midler together.
Holy shit! And he got the nerve to write a song. He writes the song that makes.
He didn't write that song.
Yeah,
he didn't write that song.
Wow. That is, man, it's like everybody you think of. And it's like, him too.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's true. I mean, that industry just attracts more of those type of people.
Yeah.
It just is, you know. I mean, and, you know, back in the day, there's always been gay people in Hollywood. It's always been there, but the difference was they covered it up.
Yes.
They covered up because if the audience knew that their favorite heartthrob was gay, they're not going to go see their movies.
Yeah.
So that's going to affect the bottom line. So you had to hide it.
Yeah.
You had to protect it, you know? But now it's like, no, let's just be open. Let's be queer. And let's just tell everyone how queer we are, you know? And it still hurts their career, especially if you're a leading man. You know, so they're still kind of in the closet, except for the people that, you know, a lot of Hollywood is run by gay people, men and women, and they're going to hire each other. So it doesn't matter whether your movie makes money or not. If you're fucking gay and you're fucking a producer, you're going to keep getting cast in movies.
Yeah.
Look at Kristen Stewart, man. She's still acting in movies, and all of her movies have flopped since Twilight. Every single one.
Yeah.
Has flopped. But yeah, she's still getting work. You know why? Because she's a fucking lesbo and she's fucking these high-powered lesbian women that do all the casting in Hollywood. All the casting departments are run by women too.
Yeah.
You know, there's no male casting director in Hollywood. It's all women.
Yeah. Look at the Matrix. The brothers turn into sisters. I'm like, what the? I mean, that shit right there. And then the pictures are brutal. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, when you think, I mean, the Wachowskis, look at the movie, look at the Matrix, okay? What's underneath the surface, okay? You're asleep, they're waking up, you know?
Yeah,
of course, they're a bunch of weirdos.
It has that double innuendo on it.
Yeah.
It's
like a very personal story to them. If you read behind the subtext, you can see it, okay? They're trying to come out in the movie, but they can't.
More like the Gatrix, you know?
Yeah, the Gatrix, absolutely, yeah.
Just wow, man. Now
the first Matrix movie, it revolutionized the movie industry. It really did. Okay, there's layers upon layers upon layers of that. But the other two after that weren't very good. They weren't very good. Yeah, and the last one, that piece of shit, Resurrection, Regurgitation, that was that was an abortion, man.
Yeah. The same thing with the latter Star Wars. It just turned into.
Don't even get me started on Star Wars. Oh my fucking god, dude! You want to talk about
watch them? I can't even. I saw like the first one.
Star Wars is dead, man. It's been dead for a while.
Yeah, it was with Force Awakens or something.
Force Awakens, Force Awakens. They gave us. There was hope in Force Awakens. It was just a remake of A New Hope. That's all it was. Okay, with better special effects. That's all it was. The remake of A New Hope.
Yeah.
Okay. But it promised us. It looked like they were going to give us some cool stuff in the next one. And then The Last Jedi just shit the bed completely.
Totally.
Yeah. Completely. Luke is a piece of shit loser. What the fuck? He tried to kill his nephew? Are you fucking kidding me? His father was the second most evil man in the whole fucking universe, and he would not kill his father. Yeah. But yet his nephew has some nightmares, and he's over there about to fucking chop him in half. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah, they said they tried to give him a little bit of dignity with the CGI in The Mandalorian. You know, like he came and crushed.
It looked like CGI. It looked like CGI.
Yeah, it wasn't really. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, you know, it's done. And then again, it also has those innuendos in it and the hints toward, you know, Luke Skywalker, like Lucifer Skywalker, the Morning Star.
Well, I think Luke Skywalker came from George Lucas's name. He put himself in the movie.
Yeah. I heard at first he was calling it Star Killer.
Star Killer, Luke Star Killer. Yeah. That was the original name. And then while they were filming the movie, they changed the name.
Yeah. But I've heard a lot of stuff about Spielberg because they said they coached him a little, but then a lot of stuff came out with Spielberg and that little girl that was ended from Poltergeist.
Yeah. Well, apparently Spielberg, he was the producer of Poltergeist, but he did not direct the movie. Although in real life, I do believe that Steven Spielberg did direct Poltergeist because it looks like a Steven Spielberg movie. Yeah. Tobe Hooper is officially credited as the director of the movie because he directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But if you really look at Poltergeist, it looks like it was directed by Steven Spielberg. And the reason he did that is because he was directing E.T. at the same time. And he couldn't direct two movies at the same time. It was against the SAG, whatever. The Directors Guild of America was against the rules. Mm-hmm. So that's why he had to give the directing credit to another guy.
Wow. Spielberg. They say he's part of the Red Shoe Club.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. He's an elitist. He's one of the Hollywood elites.
Yeah. I think Macaulay Culkin was saying that basically the girl from Poltergeist, the little 9-year-old.
Yeah, Heather O'Rourke.
Yeah, and they're saying he made basically shoes out of her skin or something like that, and
probably
allegedly. And
the first Poltergeist movie, the daughter, what's her name? I think her name was Susan Dune or something Dune. Her last name was Dune. Okay, she played the teenage daughter in Poltergeist, the one that you never see again in the sequels.
Yeah.
Okay, she was murdered by her boyfriend. Okay, right after that movie came out. Okay, that was in Poltergeist Part 1. In Poltergeist Part 2, the Native American Indian that played the shaman in there, he died right after they finished making that movie, and so did the actor that played the demon guy, the old pastor guy. He died as well, right after they made that movie. And then in the third one, Heather O'Rourke died while they were filming it. The little girl died. Carol Ann died while they were filming that movie.
Yeah, that was the little blonde girl, right?
Yeah, Heather O'Rourke. Yeah, she played Carol Ann. Yeah. So it's talk about being a curse on those movies, you know?
My friend, she says Dominique Dunn.
Dominic Dunn, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And her brother is Griffin Dunn, and he was in American Werewolf in London, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Yeah,
he was the ghost that his body kept decomposing every day. That was her brother. Yeah.
Yeah, that he and you know, when I think of the red shoe, David Bowie's song "Let's Dance," put on your red shoes
and dance the blues. Yeah.
Tom Hanks, the man
with the red shoe. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
the signaling is there. It's definitely there. Yeah.
It's definitely.
This is how they communicate with each other. You know.
Yeah, really.
Out in the open.
Yeah, and right in front of people, and I think it's like an idiot test to see. Okay, are the people still asleep? Yeah, they're still asleep. They don't know. They think it's entertainment. They're they're never looking as deep as you look in.
Well, it's like only someone who is in their group would recognize it. You know.
Yeah.
Like we didn't recognize it at the time.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I didn't. I mean, when I think of Daryl Hannah, again, another one under transvestigation. I mean, Daryl.
I think she's a real woman. I mean, she was fucking JFK Jr. for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, she's pretty tall. I think she's 6 foot or something.
Yeah, she was Splash. She's a mermaid in Splash. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing
and Blade Runner. She's in Blade Runner too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, definitely. She's actually that Blade Runner. Hollywood is it runs deep, man. It runs deep. Yeah, I'd like to, maybe in the future we do a stream just on the movies, man.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
A good one, man. It's about 12, 15 here in New York City. It's getting there. I get up every day like 6 o'clock,
Yeah, so do I. Yeah.
Hey, man, Diego, it has been such a pleasure, bro.
Thank you, man.
Best guest I've had yet, and I've had a lot of guests, bro. I've had
great guest. Great guest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, it's great. Great knowledge. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. William Payne was on here. He wrote a book about the subliminal messages, we had a few others, but yeah, you take the cake, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really, man. And I'm so glad. I hope, a lot of people, they said they subscribed. I hope more will watch this and rewatch it.
Okay.
And, we'll do it again soon, bro. And I'll watch some more of your videos, man.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's been great being on your show.
And thank you for being here. And
Have a
thank
good night,
everyone
everyone.
in the chat. Take care. Have a great night. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye.